the point differential between the two teams is so small that the difference between third and fourth is going to determine who is going to get that third slot in terms of circuit points. Obviously, you know, if you get first in this tournament, you get the #1 seed. But for either of these teams, like, you just want to qualify, right? And so the winner of this match, they'll have enough circuit points to get the third and final circuit points.
Oh, the drama. I love everything on the line, not just the tournament life, but also, of course, that ticket to Sweden. Let's dig in. Let's talk about both of these teams. Virtus.pro, we saw them playing earlier today. We're Twisted Minds. They got a little bit of a break. How much have we learned from Virtus.pro today? Not an awful lot. That one was difficult to get through, but we've seen what they can do earlier on in this tournament.
Yeah, for Virtus.pro, I mean, Sana pretty much hard stuck the Genji against SSG. And so that is, yes, we saw the Pharah today. It makes sense, play this poke hero against a Reinhardt composition like this, right? And honestly, we might see more of the Sana Pharah in a matchup like this. You're going up against Labda, right? But they hard stuck the Genji when it came to a matchup where they were facing the Mei. The problem is, in this matchup, we'll see less of the Mei and we'll see more of the Pharah. So the question is, what are they going to do to adapt accordingly to the Pharah gameplay?
Oh, yeah. What indeed. But Twisted Minds, I mean, not only do they have a phenomenal Pharah and Labda, they also have an incredible hit scan. Quartz himself, he's a player, he can turn the tide. He can carry games.
Yeah, there was a point in time where he was probably considered the best Sojourner in the game, if not one of the best. And I really want to highlight his Widowmaker play. It's an X factor that other teams just haven't been willing to pull out. And every time he pulls it out, especially on that Midtown map, he has just made his own. Midtown feels like the Quartz map. So I'm interested to see if they'll play that map again. But yeah, Quartz is an X factor. TVNT, one of their newer additions to the team, replacing KSA. He plays the D.Va really well. He plays Orisa really well. He's been fitting in nice with his team as well. Something to highlight is Yubi. This is essentially the Yubi team. And Yubi doesn't play in this meta at all. So I'm curious to see how that affects Twisted Minds and how they play. Maybe a little bit less aggression and more calculated play on courts. There's a lot of questions here for Twisted Minds, but there's also a lot of questions for VP. So this is a matchup it's really hard to predict in my mind.
And yet we asked you to predict it anyway. So let's take a look at our talent predictions. I went with Twisted Minds. I feel like I've been underestimating them time and time again. No more. I think I hope for a close match, but VP didn't really instill much confidence in their earlier match today, whereas Twisted Minds, again, like that DPS duo, they're gonna drag that team over the finish line if they must.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I went 3-1 for Twisted Minds. Quartz is just an X factor for me. And VP, they didn't show me enough in the series before. They weren't able to adapt. And I think Twisted Minds is gonna throw different looks at VP. And they just haven't shown me anything that says, like, yeah, we're ready to swap characters. We have a game plan in mind. We're ready to go through the steps. They never took the first step for me, so I can't predict them. I have to go Twisted Minds.
I thought both of you were going to go Virtus.pro, because I also went Twisted Minds.
Perfect.
And it really comes down to the damage dealers. Like, you're facing Quartz on Widow, like you said, but also Hitscan in general, and Labda's Pharah. And Virtus.pro, they are a slower team. Like, they don't necessarily want to go these aggressive dive compositions, right? They want to slow things down themselves. And so it's going to be a really interesting matchup between two teams that kind of play similarly, considering the tanks we have on either side, of course. But yeah, I got Twisted Minds too, so.
I'm interested to see. Honestly, I expected that. Twisted Minds, low-key the villain in our league.
Low-key?
Have been since the start. Like, it doesn't matter how they show up. They just, you know, they usually don't have that community backup. But all the better for the storyline, isn't it?
There may or may not be a player who goes to Twitter and trash talks the fans. So this isn't really a surprise in my mind. But I do think Twisted Minds is a stronger team.
I mean, I just keep it a buck. Like, Quartz has been the best hitscan player in the tournament so far.
Yeah, you can think about certain individuals on the team however much you want, but like a player like that, we gotta put respect on that name. Like, that can turn a tide in such an important match. Everything on the line. I feel like I'm saying that a lot these days, but dude, we have so many elimination matches, so there is everything on the line. Let's see who's coming out on top. Yes, anything you want, John.
Casters?
Oh, please, be my guest, Johnny.
Someone who's on our line, it's the casters, you know, like a phone line. You're on the call.
That would have been super smooth if
On the what?
He's making things up. He's from Australia. He doesn't know.
Yeah, I think they made that up.
On the dog and bone.
Johnny do that again.
On the dog and bone. You know, you've heard that one, right?
No. I'm too young. We didn't have like landline phones when I was.
I got bad news for you, mate.
Actually?
You ain't that young. You ain't that young fella.
Don't call me on.
I didn't do that.
Did you see that shirt that he wore yesterday? He looked old as hell yesterday.
Oh, did he? No. I mean, I mustn't have been memorable enough. I'm not sure.
Nah, it was like some villain type, I don't know, sweater
Oh,
thing.
yes, the cashmere black number. That was very demure, Jonathan.
This game, you know, Sewi was joking, like, we have a lot of elimination games. This is the elimination game of elimination games, in the fact that, like, the loser of this doesn't go to Stockholm.
Absolutely. You couldn't have more on the line. This might be the most important match of the entire season in general. But how quickly have expectations in Twisted Minds grown as they tried to temper them coming into this tournament, saying, hey, we're a new team. We feel like a new team, right? Vigilante departs this roster, or was driven from it. Whichever way you want to look at it, they've had to bring MCD in to replace, who's been excellent, and also TVNT moving over towards the Orisa. They're still trying to get settled there. They're playing a Perma Lambda lineup here. We're not seeing Yubi subbed in at all. And it does feel like they're a bit rigid, honestly. They only want to play that sort of hit scan plus Pharah combination, but they haven't looked inflexible because it's kind of worked for them.
I mean, stop it, right? Keep doing it until somebody proves that they can stop it. I mean, Lambda has been really good on the Pharah, and then Quartz has been, you know, one of the best hit scans, if not the best here in EMEA. So I don't hate it, right? You know, until they can prove that they can come out and beat this version of Twisted Minds, just roll with it, right? It seems like they're having lots of success.
Can VP beat them in their own game? Because Johnny mentions that, like, VP are a slow team, but Twisted Minds also play this same poke-oriented setup that tends to want longer fights with more protracted engagements and likes to do this after they've already captured a control point or objective, right? So they, you know, get an advantage off that.
I don't know. It's going to be really difficult, I think, for VP, especially in these slower types of comps. And obviously, you know, we'll be at Stockholm. One of these two teams will be at Stockholm. Get your tickets if you like either one of them. Well, get your tickets now and then root for the team.
You want to be
if
there.
they lose, then still go.
Definitely.
It'll be cool.
Yeah, make that decision without full information. I strongly encourage that behavior. Very cool. Also great at the poker table. But yes, look, again,
Stockholm, it's great in the fall. You don't want to miss it.
what's it like in the fall, Matt?
I know it's pretty chilly.
Like how chilly we talking?
Yeah, it can get cool. You know, it can range anywhere from, you know.
Because I heard there's a bit of
30 to 70, anywhere 30 to 70, anywhere in that range.
40 maybe. Yeah. You did mention there's also they got a lot of.
It's in the range,
they got a lot of water going on as well. That's, you know, I didn't.
Yeah, I saw that picture that they put the other day. Lots of water going on there. So
Okay. Well, there's holographic water going on here on Garden. Not quite the same thing, but the ambience.
I'm stunned. Li Jiang Tower and EMEA to kick things off.
Hey, we had Ilios earlier today.
We did have Ilios. Yes, but that was also when they were kind of playing against like a Reinhardt kind of composition, right?
Yes. Yeah, they were definitely like banking on trying to punish Ryan on maps where he cannot be played. So, yeah, Li Jiang is going to be. This is, again, like Matt mentioned, a first to 3 elimination game with qualification for OWCS Stockholm on the line. The stakes don't get any higher, folks. It's time for Virtus.pro and Twisted Minds to leave it all out there. A game more important to them than winning OWCS Stage 4 main event.
So I think what I like from VP here, right, it's like a little bit what we talked about in the previous series, is you play this Genji and try and put some pressure onto Quartz, right? Don't exactly match that far, and it's going to be Sauna coming up with that kill on the far early on. So at least early, it looked like VP getting off to a good start, but that Dynamite's still ticking.
Though for Rajaro. Quartz uncontested as yet. TVN2 doing much the same thing. Both Orisas trying to sort of zone off the Ashe players, but very quickly Lambda is back.
Up in the middle. Yeah, I mean, that Dynamite there from Quartz, right, on the players coming on in, results in 2 kills for Twisted Minds, and see if this will actually get them point. It looks like it's going to be actually Sauna jumps on, gets a touch, and test, but then forced off.
Twisted Minds want this. They want to play a slow game now. They have point control. They want to punish Virtus.pro for every single inch they take. And Rajaro is very much split up onto his own. It's going to be a mutual knockdown there as Quartz was able to get the coach gun. And that's an exchange that Twisted Minds are so happy with. No one here can deal with TVNT.
Court's just absolutely dominating as well, right? It's Twisted Minds. It's like, okay, let's just protect the president, right? Let's keep Courts alive. And hey, if I was on their team, that's the strategy that I would be employed. I mean, it feels like every single time he's able to come up with a few kills there on the hit scan is, you know, both Orisas just kind of like, you know, barrel into their death at the start of these fights. And then, you know, look at this. I mean, Court's already at the Bob. Shockwave, you know, is about 30% behind here.
And not doing a whole lot from that position either. A little bit of poke. Sauna eventually encroaches into Quartz's personal space, but a coach gun will get him loose again. TVNT wants to, yeah, nice, catch Canale out during rally. With that Terror Surge, such a high value elimination there. Virtus.pro is still going to try and go for it, but they are sorely outmatched.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Gala does have the orbital ray.
Sit down.
Dude, he makes that look like it's just like a casual, like play. I mean, at the highest level, I mean, that is just, that is so difficult.
VP not working out with this Genji composition, not the way they would like. Sauna was able to find a kill early in the first fight. Since then, though, it's been frustrating for him. Shockwave as well has had to play these really wide, obscure angles with huge amounts of damage fall off. Concussive Blast, Gala can ignore that one at least. Orbit Array, Rajaro eventually steps into it.
They just kite it though. I mean, it's so telegraphed, right? That you know they're going to come in and use it. You can just kite it here now. You're going to give up points, but you're in a much better spot to
Good
battle
calling
back.
from Twisted Minds here, just to get out there, give a little bit of capture progress over. Bob comes out, Quartz tries to get clear of the Terror Surge. Look at the damage of Rajaro, but no coach gun available. It doesn't matter apparently. Sauna taken down in Blade by Quartz. And I don't know how you come back from that one. You've used all your ultimates, you've blown it all.
I really like the way that Twisted Minds played that there. I mean, just disengage a shot there as a rocket there onto Son and then finished off by Quartz, but the patience to disengage and then come back in. I mean, I think that was great.
Rajaro looked like he'd be caught between a mace and a hard place, but is able to get out of the window. Just as TVNT tried to round with Bliss on the other side. So he's managed to contest the point right now, but this is under Twisted Minds' control, and eventually Sauna pulls up short. Virtus.pro need to find the right assignment for Sauna in this matchup. Their chances of making it to Stockholm hinge on that.
It's, you know, not a good start here for VP. You know, maybe on some of these maps, so right, like it seems that Twisted Minds, they will continue to play this Pharah, regardless of like the points, regardless of, you know, the geometry, whatnot. Maybe that will come back to bite them a little bit. You know, maybe that's where VP can kind of close the gap, so to speak.
A map like this, though, is plenty of opportunity to play Widow or any of those highly impactful hit scans. Quartz will do it more often than most on a lot of these maps, but the Ashe is still going to be a perfectly reasonable option, especially if Shockwave does roll out on the cast in the end. Let's see what we get. Twisted Minds, favored heavily by our experts on the desk, so far have lived up to set expectations.
So, oh man, the Widow here, especially when there's no Pharah on the other side. I mean, they're playing the Widow into the Genji. I mean, you have to be so confident.
Every time I see this, every time I think of the Philadelphia Fusion, every time I see this.
Yeah, Carve.
Yep. MN3 too. All right, here comes Canale. Just trying to round the corner. A little bit split from the rest of Virtus.pro, and they're just getting exposed to a bunch of free damage. Oh, this is exactly what Twisted Minds want to see from them. For whatever reason, Sauna doesn't feel comfortable playing Pharah into Quartz, which I understand, but...
Yeah, Gala, dude, this...
he had the homie stock, the homie stock.
Early on,
it's okay, let's give him the homie stock.
Yeah, really early on in this series, but it does not feel good here for...
no, they look really uncomfortable.
I mean, they have really uncomfortable, kind of like, you know, lifeless in a lot of these fights, not really getting much of anything done.
A little mid. Sauna here is kind of caught out in the open, has to dash away. So all those cooldowns used, a full disengage from Virtus.pro, which again plays very much into the playbook for Twisted Minds. They want to keep them back here. They want to keep them in the chokes, eating their Pharah damage. Malanta just laughs on his mountain of corpses from these rockets. Okay, here comes Orbit Array.
They also have a really, I mean, they also have a really rough series earlier in the day, do VP, right? Well, it just
Close.
barely dodged a headshot there from Quartz. So maybe, do you lose a little bit of confidence, right? You know, coming out of that first game that you had a little bit earlier in the day where it's really close against this, our peak check. I mean, that's also a possibility here. Is an orbital array from MCD is they're still not. I mean, they're trying to get this kill on the Quartz. They just can't.
I mean,
finish
it's a
him
matter of
off.
support.
He'll take out Rajaro.
Yeah, the alt timing for MCD is good. He just builds an orbital array, and the fight gets dragged out a fair bit again because Twisted Minds don't fully commit. I mean, they don't want to. They're playing Widow Farah. They're never going to give you a 5v5. So if Virtus.pro can't burst down like a TVNT or Bliss, which, by the way, is going to get even harder now that they have Rally, it's going to be very hard to win these fights.
Whoa, that is a long-range spear there from Rajaro. A much-needed kill there. That's going to be Terror Surge actually used quite aggressively here from TVNT. Trying to collapse on the shockwave. Not going to be enough to take him out.
Down. Lab's just been able to find the Juno of all things, Matt. Goes for the barrage there as well. Sometimes the worst can, you know, precede the best.
They go for the blade to get stunned up.
Sorta couldn't get out of it there. Caught inside that. TVNT able to bring him down now. Bliss with that rally.
Quartz is back.
God, the timing is so good to have this Brig ult available to you. Twisted Minds far and ahead, the better team right now on Lijiang Tower, and there's just not enough time to fix that if you're Virtus.pro. 96 and counting, and Rajaro is not allowed to touch right now. It'll be Sauna on the Tracer to have to go for it. Lambda doesn't worry about it for the time being until, of course, he has to. Doesn't quite predict the recall location, but Quartz gets there on the Widow and takes the Tracer down. Now, really, Lambda just has to stay alive. Give a good sightline for Quartz to play off of. But this might just necessitate a bit of a fallback for Twisted Minds.
Yes, Shockwave now comes back here on a Widow of his own, so they'll deal with MCD. So finally, VP, they battle back. So they'll mirror the Widow here. So the Widow, I know McGravy talking about it, right? Twisted Minds, one of the only teams still confident enough to pull the Widow out. Maybe this actually makes Lambda's life pretty difficult. We'll see if they're able to get anything here. Orbital Ray available as well for MCD and Co.
Yeah, we'll probably see Quartz just take that higher ground position, but Infraside here means Shockwave now has to be very, very careful. Can't adequately predict either where Quartz is going to come from. Genji just taking the attention up of Quartz. I think Shockwave's found MCD. Eventually, sorta. Patience pays off there for Quartz. Orbital Ray, Shockwave kind of just lingering out in the open there and couldn't limp away to safety. Gala can avoid the Terror Surge there for TVNT. Quartz not so much from Rajaro though, and Gala can finish off Bliss. All right.
Yeah, the Farah still in the sky. I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to fight this here.
They got
VP.
TVNT.
I mean, that's going to be Gala. Yeah, you still have TVNT here. You still have your Juno as well. As yeah, you're going to be able to get to the point here. Now it's going to go in OT.
Sauna again still on his Tracer. Ended up switching to it in order to be able to contest, but honestly not a terrible pick considering the circumstances. But Lambda's sitting back on the point comfortably, and Twisted Minds can take Lijiang Tower away, playing it their way. Whereas VP try to go for this Genji hit scan look, it's not good enough to put pressure on their opponents.
Yeah, I don't love the way that VP looked there at the start of this series. I think that they got to figure something out and figure it out fast, right? As Lambda, you know, even with Quartz on the Widow, right? You know, he's coming up with like picks that you're finally able to get him, and then guess what? You've never dealt with Lambda in the sky, right? It's like a 3v2. He's just up there just drilling your Orisa and Juno with rockets, and they end up flipping the point rather easily after that, where you know, obviously VP had a little bit of a rough go earlier today, right? Against you know, SRP check, very close series. Probably thought that coming in here against TM, it would actually be, you don't want to say easier, right? But in theory, they have a really good idea what they're going to play, right? Yeah, I mean, you're not, there's no trickery. We're not getting like, you know, Sigma Bastion. You're not getting all these like, you know, Doom.
No,
jump
they're
crap,
vastly
right?
different teams, really.
This is like kind of you know, quote unquote standard play, right? So you figure, okay, like we have a good idea what they're going to run. We feel pretty good about it. And it was a blowout.
Nice there for Shockwave to survive. He would have get knocked off the map there by TVNT. But in general, right, I mean, the Farah here on this map also looked excellent. There's like one kill at the start where Sauna actually manages to get somehow up in Lambda's face. But I think from then on out, like, it really wasn't a lot to write home about on either round here from Virtus.pro. You know, like, the predictions at home, I mean, I understand what influences them, but I don't think it's unreasonable to expect VP to come into a game like this and look really good. There are some weaknesses here that Twisted Minds have, but are VP the team that is capable of exposing them? I'm starting to question that.
And I mean, also after the last series, right? do you believe that like we were kind of going back and forth for days, right? Is it is it Genji? Is it Pharah? Is it Mei? Right? After the last series, are you that unconvinced that it's not the Pharah, right? With how ENCE made it look against SSG, right? As Pharah seems to be extremely impactful here at the moment.
No doubt about it, and not easy to counter directly. But there's a reason why Sauna won't play Pharah Man. Because he doesn't want to run into this Widow or Ashe play of Quartz.
Right.
So like he respects it.
That's the one thing I don't think we've seen, at least in the games that we've done here in EMEA, is a team actually just match the Pharah and just kind of go. I believe we saw one team try and actually run like the Echo, like to counter it. Right? I think that was a match earlier against. Yeah, it was against Twisted Minds, I believe. Right? They ended up running the Echo to try and counter the Pharah, but that did not work. We've not seen anybody just kind of consistently try and match that Pharah v Pharah.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the same question that would be posed to SSG and ENCE if Twisted Minds are to make it through this game, but one might have reasonably thought that Virtus.pro would be enough to answer this. It's not the case. So now maybe working around this Pharah might be a matter of map selection. We'll see Virtus.pro try and take on battlefields where Pharah doesn't exactly thrive as much.
It doesn't matter though; they're still going to play it.
Yes,
right. I mean, we saw them the other day get taken to like what it was New Junk City. They played it the entire time.
So like you normally think that like Flashpoint is decent to try and beat Pharah. I think you could play it against her, or we're here. So they're going to try that again, just not New Junk City. But there aren't a ton of maps in the pool where that is like really viable. I guess you could do it on Junkertown too, but I'm pretty sure they did that as well. So Twisted Minds don't care.
Well, Junkertown, do you want to give Quartz the opportunity to just install?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't want that.
Whichever map you pick, one of those two is going to be like feeling favored or on a battleground that really suits their playstyle or hero preference. There's no easy answers here, and nor should there be. We're in the top 4 teams in EMEA.
Right, yeah, I mean, this is, it's wild at EMEA, right? NA, obviously, there's been a lot of different contenders, like a lot of roster kind of shuffling throughout the year, right? Rotating around, etc. EMEA, I mean, these two teams' seasons, entire years come down to essentially just this game, right? I mean, wild that's kind of the scenario that it goes to, and also like TM, they're quite lucky that they had a great start to their season, right?
I mean, absolutely. They otherwise, they probably wouldn't be in this position now, but they were the team to beat in Europe as the year began. Bit of a fall off, but now this is the right time to peak. It's always a conversation we have at this part of the year. TVNT, hello? Wow. Okay, still alive somehow. That is pretty wild. Eventually, VP can get him.
Where's he going?
I guess like the disappointing part is that Twisted Minds don't actually turn that into an opportunity to at least get a trade, even though TVNT survives for way longer than he should have.
I mean, they use him to just soak up as much damage as possible. It's kind of wild how long he's able to live for. Oh, that's a really nice, like right back into Quartz's head there. So you're gonna earn some more time here. 4 VP is getting off to a really good start. I feel like it's super important for them just in terms of confidence, right? Really long series earlier today. Kind of get rolled in map number 1, getting off to a good start here on Saravasa. Seems extremely important.
Yeah, they want to pick a map where they feel like Pharah's weaker. Labda has been forced to switch before. It was the Tracer. So it's not as if they can't play anything else, which is not something you could accuse any of our players at this level of suffering from, but Conk there maybe would have given an opportunity to find Shockwave, but TVNT wasn't looking that way and didn't have a Javelin to really punish it. Virtus.pro at 70% and counting. You'll notice that Labda's trying to flank here.
Well, yeah, just look at how much harder it is for the Pharah to get value here, right? I mean,
this is why you pick these maps. Eventually Labda falls and Virtus.pro should have this first flashpoint locked up here. Twisted Minds won't bother to contest.
Yeah, I mean, this is also one of probably the worst points here for the Pharah is like the, low enclosed roof, right? Access to high ground pretty much for everybody, right? So
this point though,
we'll see now. Yeah, this next one could be a little bit different. We'll see how it pans out.
It is pretty reasonable. There are like openings above the arches as well. So Pharah can take like higher angles and still get some decent damage. As you can see, that's happening right now. Still not great, but you can be a factor here on the point. Quartz those steps up. That's what they need. Twisted Minds definitely need Quartz to be the money man this game. Taking 2 kills, I think, is a good start for sure.
Yeah, in a fight where, I mean, the first point's so odd though, Mitch, that like nobody actually ends up having to use ults in the first entire point. Nobody has to use anything here at the start of the next one. So you're going to have like a really weird scenario for a flashpoint where both teams are going to come in 5 ultimates apiece here into the second flashpoint.
I mean, Twisted Minds, again, they don't mind if this goes slow. Like, the fact that Virtus.pro have to come up and engage puts them at a disadvantage, just fundamentally. Here, look at the poke. It's going to keep coming in. If Twisted Minds can just find Virtus.pro where they're milling around, they should be fine. MCD, though, down, though. That's pretty big. Deadeye from Shockwave now, despite that orbit array from MCD. Gets rid of the Juno. And a 56% accounting, at least Virtus.pro are able to get back into the action. And they save some big ultimates for what would be in a very important next fight.
Yes, Twisted Minds, they end up holding on to the rally there. Don't want to invest that towards the end of the fight, especially with a few players dead. And then they'll also have the barrage plus the Bob. So probably, that barrage, right, if they decide to get, use it almost like defensively, right? If they decide to push in here. And maybe that rally here, gets that. Ooh, it's actually going to be the bomb to kind of go after the rally. And that's actually a shot that kind of connects, and then it's finished off by TVNT.
Someone realizes he has to try and salvage this here. Okay, Rajaro shield was up there though for Bliss, and rally is in play. Twisted Minds can move back in here and take this point. Again, Virtus.pro do get up to 65, and they'll have one short little junky fight, and I mean that in both senses of the term, because both teams have obviously dispensed with all of their ultimates. Virtus.pro can't afford to waste too much time here. They can touch, but it will be awkward, and they likely won't have the perfect parameters for this engagement.
No, not at all. The Terror Surge used there by Rajaro, really nicely played by Twisted Minds, because they end up using the barrage to lose on here. They use the barrage and the rally at the same time. They end up kind of living through that Terror Surge.
Okay, left it down. Rajaro too low, that's the issue. Quartz able to pick him off eventually. No tank here means that for a real sort of cap attempt, all of VP have to throw themselves at the point. Canale can't quite touch now. Overtime should expire here once the Juno is dealt with, and this will be Twisted Minds evening Suravasa.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of throwing their bodies at the point there towards the end just gives Twisted Minds obviously the point, making a 1-1, but also some much needed ult charge here as we move throughout the map. As now with this open courtyard, right? I think if you're VP, try and get Shockwave up on that high ground, right? Maybe you can kind of force Lambda to play out in the open.
Take an early fire with orbital array is reasonable too. Yeah, let's think about the options here for Lambda. Pretty open area. Can definitely still play corners to some degree. Oh man, okay, that was terrifying for Quartz. Very quickly he does get some healing. Bliss does a nice job there of making sure they cannot run him over. That would have been an overfight already. Now Quartz gets to reposition and look for an advantage in range against Shockwave.
And he's got his own personal bodyguard here with Bliss as well, so not the worst thing is TVNT trying to back up, desperately trying to stay alive here. He's actually going to use the Terror Surge. Opportunity for MCD and Co to flip this with their own orbital barrage.
Yeah, there's nothing to answer this for Virtus.pro except the Deadeye. It is a more open point though. Shockwave doesn't want to swing too wide and eat a javelin like that, but TVNT is very aware. 34 and counting though. Virtus.pro did get that early flip to start with, so Twisted Minds have to spend pretty big to turn this around.
Yeah, it's really nice positioning though for TM. Actually, a few players here stuck inside this room, so it could get quite interesting here in a sec. Is Shockwave gets one. It looked like Lambda was actually going to go in there and try and actually get a barrage off, but decided against it here. Is okay, so it's going to be VP flipping it right back.
That's not what you want to see from Twisted Minds at all. Ugly little moment there as they kind of knew that chasing Shockwave into that room would be very dangerous. He knows Lambda didn't want to commit at all. And then I thought I saw him looking for a flank barrage. And that's when he got picked off there. Now, he didn't commit to that, but he did get out of position in order to set up for it. Either way, he holds that ultimate now for this fight, one of which Rajaro already has another Terror Surge. Garner's also built up a very quick orbit array for like a third time here. But Shockwave is not
ready. What do you even do if you're Shockwave?
Yeah, he needs a Brig standing with him, just like Quartz has.
That was the Brig die too.
No, whip shot the Farah,
I mean,
do the hokey pokey.
Situation with a conk.
It is hard. I mean, like if you close on a Cassie like that, there aren't a lot of options for him. Doesn't have a coach gun-esque ability really. Nice heals again for MCD. It's going to make sure Lambda stays in the fight. Quartz the only casualty there. Twisted Minds now need to win this fight and one more.
Yeah, in that situation though, I mean, Shockwave, he gets like conked into damage pretty much from everybody on Twisted Minds, and I mean, what's really bad for VP there is they end up using their orbital rate, right? So don't have that Juno ultimate, double support ultimate available here for TM. If the fight starts off pretty slow, or you know, bad for VP, right? A early pick off from like Labda with some rockets, you are in a world of trouble.
Here comes VP now, Sauna for the back line, but Quartz already taken down by Rajaro. Still plenty of use for this blade. Maybe just not into a rallying brick, decides Sauna. So he puts that one away. Now the fight begins properly on the point. It's MCD with an orbital ray. TVNT moves up to break up the Deadeye. No one really caught in that Terror Surge, but Rajaro was overwhelmed on the point. The teams trade Orisa players, but Labda is still an issue. Now a Shockwave out of the way. There's no one to really answer this unless Sauna can climb. And the Juno damage is good for Gala. Nicely done. Gala's had a very good map.
Oh yeah, you still have Bliss here alive though. Quartz actually connects with the dynamite on the players on the point.
Oh, that's dangerous. 1v3 for Sauna. That's too much to ask. Quartz going down early in the fight means he comes back in time to help with that flip, and that's tough for Virtus.pro. I mean, if they lose this map, they've definitely lost this grip on the series.
Just how they planned it. Quartz die early, so you can come back towards the end. But he connects with a huge dynamite on the point, that which, as soon as he connects with the dynamite, it gives Bliss the kind of freedom to jump around the corner and just start swinging on Canale, and it's going to be TVNT going to go back to the Orisa here. So and even if worst case you would have like lost a player there or whatnot for Twisted Minds, you had the Bob to use, right? Which almost certainly they would have used there to try and win that in that scenario.
The hero switch does mean priority goes to VP here, but I don't think TM mind. They can actually poke from off the point or on it either way. They went very, very low, Virtus.pro. That orbit array, an absolute necessity, and Shockwave just couldn't stay in it.
They take a lot of damage. They take a lot of damage from the Bob, and then also the Far up in the sky. But then also Quartz lands a dynamite, and that forces the orbital array because Canale is so weak.
What is Quartz up to right now? Definitely getting some medical attention, that's for sure. Oh, out here on the point, loud and proud. Large and in charge. Good dynamite damage too.
He had that nice coach gun and looped up all the way around. Is some big healing there from the Juno to keep him alive.
Back. And bigger than ever, apparently. 2 kills is more than enough, especially when you've just killed all of the healing for your opponents. Sauna Rajaro, valiant effort. The Twisted Minds will get themselves that lead now on this, what could be final flashpoint for Suravasa.
And they win these like fights, TM, without even using support ultimates, right? I mean, you hold on to these for this next fight. I mean, it's really difficult, man, for VP to get anything going. I mean, they're going to have a blade, right? But you're going to be running in a Terror Surge Orbital Ray rally. What good is that?
And the Normandy beach levels of poke damage for Twisted Minds as well. So before you get to the fight, you might be very low. Sauna's been able to carve Bliss, though, out of formation here. And I think Twisted Minds, okay, they do commit with 3 and an orbital ray. Quartz able to bring down Shockwave, but you need to do more than that. Rajaro's just going to push him off the map. Still, Canale went down. Now you're down to 2 for TM. TVNT do not even... Oh, my goodness. I don't know about that one. Terror Surge used there as he was the only player up.
He's trying to get to 99. I mean, now a pretty big advantage here for VP, right? They'll have no orbital ray and rally. The sick combination is always scary when Quartz is alive. Is Rajaro absolutely needed to push him off the map, right? It was like, hey, he's already gotten 1. Don't let him live longer than that.
If he picks himself back up, you're all going to die, basically. Yeah, look. Orbital ray with 3 up. Terror Surge with 1 up. It's not the all economy you're looking for if you want to win this game. Bob used very reactively here by Quartz as he was feeling under pressure, and Virtus.pro just gleefully rotate back to the point. Okay, you can Bob. We'll orbital array here for this extra durability. Maybe that wasn't even needed by VP, but we're nitpicking now. 88, 89 counting.
Probably not.
Time to go, man.
I think the bad part, yeah, VP's just kind of forced onto the point here, right? So they're trying to see who they can isolate and try and take out. It's going to be a dynamite that comes in as TVNT going to step up to the
goes
point.
deep. I think they see an opportunity to fold over these supports a little bit more, but elsewhere there's a problem. There's no DPS left for Virtus.pro. They've got to make it work here with Rajaro, the only player on point, and Canale getting flanked on by Quartz. Gala also in extreme danger. Out in the open with a lot of eyes on them, they'll find one. But Labda was hardly the biggest problem for Virtus.pro. Twisted Minds bounce back after losing Bliss and take Suravasa.
Yeah, it's Quartz who's kind of going on this a little bit of a flank. Like you mentioned, right? The Bob came out a little bit early there, but it allowed him to kind of cycle all the way through to the VP side of the map. And, you know, he gets a big dynamite, putting down some damage from that side. And then VP are in a tough spot, right? Okay, the Ashe is behind us, putting down some damage, you know, chunking us down, and also landing some dynamites. And the Pharah is up on the other side. We really don't have a way to kind of go get that Pharah, because you had mentioned they already lost like a damage dealer. So they try and turn around, get Quartz, heat coach guns, runs away. Then now everybody's screwed, right? Now, I mean, you need that kill to come in really fast if you're VP and turn and play point. As soon as it doesn't come through right away, I mean, you've effectively lost the point there in that situation.
Big overcommitment, I think, onto trying to take that brick down. Both supports.
Well, what would have been the other option there for VP, right? Do you just kind of step up on the point with the Brig and the Juno and hope to challenge, you know, both supports and the Pharah and the Orisa?
At that point, neither of the DPS for VP have been taken down, so you might want to index more in the direction of keeping Shockwave and Sauna alive than chasing down an individual Brig and not being able to heal the rest of your team. So, I mean, just again, just like a generally reasonable decision, I think, taken there by Virtus.pro, but ones that ends up to be their utter undoing, their unraveling. And this is something we've seen from Twisted Minds a fair bit, actually, winning these 4v5 situations, these short-handed fights they come back into. But the broader narrative, I think, across this series now, or I mean, it was at the beginning, is there a map where both Lambda and Quartz don't get everything they want left in the pool? Either Quartz gets an amazing hit scan map, or Lambda gets a map where it's really hard to target and answer the Pharah.
Yeah, I think it's also been proven, right, that you know, TM can kind of run the Pharah whenever they want, wherever they want, right? So I don't know if you can say, okay, we're going to pick a map that can kind of counter this, you know, Pharah type of style. I think it's been proven now that they can do it really anywhere.
You can't play Runasapi. You definitely can't play New Queen Street. Not that you would, but like both of those maps have like the corners for Pharah. So I don't know if you can really play push. I mean, what's the other map? Esperanza, I guess. Is that even good? It's just like very, we'll get there anyway. It's very wide and open. Here are your map stats though, and once again, like this is that Twisted Minds poke damage really starting to be felt. And every time, every round, every map we've seen so far between these two, Twisted Minds have, just had an excessive amount of damage dealt overall.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to see the type of damage, right, with the Pharah in play. Esperanza would be really interesting because we haven't seen that really at all, right? Teams have kind of gone away from it here. You know, in this meta, where it's really been Runasapi has been kind of the go-to for push. So an Esperanza pick would be a little bit odd.
It does offer high ground that allows you to play Cassidy on this map and really threaten Pharah. But there are obviously there are like these longer straightaways, right? This is where the Pharah doesn't want to be in general. I mean, yeah, like, for example, like Colosseum was not a map you would pick if it was in the pool, which is not, you wouldn't pick against the Pharah. I don't think you can play Midtown or any of those. Like, God, there are just so many of these other maps. If you go to Junkertown, you really give the Widow a setup. I don't think Widow is particularly good on, Esperanza, and I don't know if Pharah is. So that might be the kind of map that you can sort of go to.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. We have the same idea.
This is an interesting choice, right? Runasapi has been kind of the go-to for a lot of teams in EMEA. There's natural high ground here on Esperanza for both teams, right? And maybe it's a little bit easier to play the Cassidy as opposed to, you know, trying to play something like an Ashe here, where you can play the Cassidy, you can play the Genji, and everybody kind of has, obviously the Pharah is just closer to everybody, right? More high ground, everybody can get there. The Pharah can only go so high, everybody's closer, right? So maybe that's the idea here for VP. Hey, I think if Twisted Minds wins on this map, man, Twisted Minds stock's gotta go up. I mean,
I would say this is a very reasonable Tracer Ashe map. So, I mean, Lambda can just do that, and they'd probably be fine. But true to form, Twisted Minds, they're playing a Pharah. Yeah, well, we start thinking, I mean, if they do well here, we start thinking about like how an SSG can stop them. But that is one step a little further than we're ready to go, I think. Let's see it. Let's see it, Lambda. Can you get away with it here? If you can do it here, you can do it anywhere.
Thanks for the update.
I also think it helps he's really good on Pharah. Like, you know, it's not just you got like somebody who's like just a normal Pharah player out there playing it. I mean, the shots that he's hitting of the Pharah consistently are pretty wild. A lot of directs.
I mean, plenty of corners to play here, to be fair. Poke damage is being felt.
this is also interesting because, right, you can just bait them to come around this pillar, right? And you're playing here with the Ashe, right, in the far and just put down, yeah, they're taking damage with the Dynamite. There's no real incentive for Twisted Minds to push up here. They can play their own high ground and control around the central
Also
pillar.
worth pointing out that once Twisted Minds have Virtus.pro's bridge under their control, which they're about to, their comp becomes unbelievably oppressive to play against.
Yeah, I mean, Farah, obviously, as you try and push out of chokes without a ton of speed, you can say, becomes really oppressive. So we'll see. Now they just push up here. I know aid Quartz, see if he can maybe get a kill coming off a spawn. And yep, just some taking damage there. Gonna go on to Rajaro as the bot continues to push on forward.
Can't believe we're at the risk of seeing Virtus.pro bow out in an 0-3 if this keeps going badly. Shockwave here can't really take the most audacious angles here. He's just peeking out from the window. In the meantime, Canale gets mulched, thrown into the wood chipper head first. Gala tries to come out now, and I think Virtus.pro have lost control of this series entirely. Coming back from this fight, that second consecutive lost fight on Esperanza, is very difficult to bounce back from.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be checkpoint here for Twisted Minds. You can push up, get even better positioning here with the Farah. And you lose this next fight, we're in map completion territory right away. I mean, you know, just really fast here.
So
I think I really like watching Labda how, you know, the positioning here with the Farah, right? You know, just playing at range here, playing it a little bit differently. It's actually going to be Quartz using the bomb over the backside of the pole.
Oh no, Sauna. There's no escape for you there. And this is, by the way, the part of the map where, yep, double kill there for Labda with the barrage, where Farah's supposed to be at her worst, I guess. But where that fight happened was, you know, close enough to that archway that Labda could sort of pop in from behind, go for a big ultimate here, and yeah, now we're looking down the barrel of triple digits on Esperanza, which is much harder to come back from than, let's say, Runasapi.
I mean, triple digits with really no
resistance.
No resistance. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? You had that fight at the start. I mean, sure, they get 2 meters, right? But it's 2 meters that they essentially wanted to give up. I like this change, playing the Ashe. I think the Ashe just provides a little bit more pressure in terms of the Dynamite and also the range on the far. Like Labda playing so far away. The Cassie not good enough to contest it.
Played there for Shockwave. He must have realized that maybe Bliss had already used that bash, or maybe he was happy to sort of hedge against it and still felt he would be able to go in there. But he gets there. Twisted Minds now back off. They say, can we use this high ground anymore? I don't think so. Not with the bot having made this much progress. So we reset back to the middle of the map a little bit.
I think Quartz is like behind too. I think Quartz is like almost in the position, the window where he fired the bob. Yeah, so he jumps down here and makes a wrap all the way around.
Doing that solo though it's an interesting idea. Labda, I guess, excuse me, Team NT close enough to him, I suppose.
Yeah, I think Quartz is totally okay if like people try and push him because he's always got Bliss
Give him
there.
some free bot progress though, that's the issue. So, what? Monomatic here. Canale got caught up inside that surge again. Yeah. Twisted Minds. Very comfortable with the fight they took there. I mean, we have to look from a bit of an awkward angle. We don't really see what goes on in there, but they had Quartz not present in that fight, wrapping around in theory. And TVNT and Blitz were theoretically enough to handle it.
Yeah, so what happens there is you actually have Shockwave down on the bot. He's the one pushing it, so he's not in that fight. You have both orbital rays going on the high ground at once. Both teams end up using the Terror Surge there in that kind of combination. But it's the Genji damage versus the Farah damage in that fight, right? So you're able to just, especially where it took place, think about like that close corridor, right? The Farah is going to get tons of value out of that.
All right, Bob now. Ooh, a little maybe farther than they would have liked to see.
He goes a bit far, yeah.
Either way, Canale's gone down early. This is all Twisted Minds all the time, by the looks of things. Shockwave might be able to salvage with a bomb of his own here. Get in the choke. That's a great spot for it. Labda gets swatted aside as the burly man comes in. And Twisted Minds, yeah, really now probably just want to push the bot away, be a bit more of a nuisance, but eventually they will be neutralized.
Yeah, they're going to try and get out with a few of these players here. Actually, they want to play from directly underneath this bridge because I do believe they have Labda and Quartz now back off a spawn. So just make it costly for Virtus.pro to get out of this area.
Yeah, they wanted to push up, maybe also deny Shockwave. Good positions to play from. Orbit Array comes on through. Virtus.pro go on out. Gala first. thrown out by the scruff of his neck, and from here on out, I think that Virtus.pro would just...
The benefits of the Ray is silly. I mean, just like, you know, the orbital ray comes down and it's going through the choke where you see the bot here, and Lambda just gets inside of it, just goes forward. I mean, not even, you know, Shockwave is a tremendous hit scan player in the other skin. Not even a fear, not even a thought about dying.
You need more than like Ash.
Directly
You need
forward.
more than Ash than like to kill the Pharah inside the ray, virtually. If she's high enough above the ground, she's unkillable. That's what's so powerful about that ability, actually. It's not just a dome on the ground, it extends all the way up to the top of the skybox, so you can play for a very safe range and still benefit from it as Pharah. Kind of crazy. 95 meters for Twisted Minds. That's their total so far. Virtus.pro, in theory, should have an old advantage to try and leverage here. TVNT should not be allowed to escape. And yet,
yeah, that's the orbital ray used as well.
Wow, Sora just gets in there, finds both supports, extracts them with precision. Okay, Twisted Mind's gonna have to reset here, with only 3 minutes 15 remain in the round for Virtus.pro to make a huge comeback.
So VP does end up holding on to the blade though, right? So we've seen Sona do some really nice things with the Genji ultimate, so potential to make a huge impact there. We'll see if they can kind of get Shockwave in position. Maybe Shockwave, nope, just takes one shot, then ends up backing up, wants to take that high ground.
Twisted Minds here can sort of play through the windows. They've sent TVNT so far forward to clear the bridge for them in advance. Yeah, they're at the risk of losing a checkpoint here. That's definitely one concern. Sona gets the rally, doesn't overextend into a bash stun, so puts the blade away. Quartz and TVNT get picked up there. It looks like it was just a bit of a compromising position for Twisted Minds to play out into checkpoint here for VP. Still 2.5 minutes to play.
Yeah, Lambda does get Canale, and you have MCD up on the high ground though, so oh, it's going to be the orbital ray here used by MCD. Is it just going to be Lambda now alive?
Unclear. I mean, everyone just splits. They leave Lambda alone for a bit. Second questionable sort of orbital ray and 2 maps there from MCD. Just if we're talking purely from an ultimate economy standpoint. Twisted Minds, they have no support ultimates for this fight. They would love it here. Bob to the high ground. Going to definitely deny that away from Quartz and make it harder for Lambda to have free raid. So Twisted Mind's going to back up.
Yeah, I feel like VP absolutely needs to take the lead here. Like, the best chance, right? You end up losing this fight. It goes all the way back into your territory. You got to start using some ultimates to get out. It is a really tough scenario to fight out of.
Quartz absolutely rolled. Javelin just ruined him. Lambda can't get away from Rajara, who in Virtus.pro might have had a chance here to get back into the game. And imagine, if Twisted Minds just hold on to that orbital ray in the previous fight, maybe it doesn't go so badly for them, but now they have gotten themselves into the lead after being behind by 75 meters for so much of this map.
Yeah, and we're getting dangerous in terms of the amount of time left, right below a minute coming up here on the clock. This TM is going to have to get this one all the way across the map and then some if they're going to come
They look
back.
quiet. They're giving up so much progress here to Virtus.pro. Orbital ray to make things even worse. VP, you cannot ask for a better time to come alive to try and take destiny in your own hands here. TVNT could find a big terror surge here. It's Shockwave going down, but Twisted Minds are being forced to use ultimates outside of their own spawn is never a good sign. They need to hold on to the rest of them that they have, and at least they get a clean fight. But man, they need to be untouchable for the rest of this map.
Okay, so here is the dangerous scenario though for VP. Is Twisted Minds, you end up actually holding on to the Ray and the Rally here. The 2 most impactful ultimates that you have. If you're Twisted Minds, if you can get through the next fight with only using one of them, that probably sets you up pretty well. I think you're looking at potentially just using the Ray because you want the Rally for the Blade. So Sona actually gets a deflect, so you're going to only have the Rally available.
I'm going to have to use it here. Surely you go for it. They've lost TVNT though. Bliss uses it way too late. That is not good enough. Twisted Minds needed it a lot earlier there, probably after that first pick off, but they didn't have a way to make use of it. And Virtus.pro come back from virtually the edge of the abyss to stay alive in this series by, mind you, the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, it feels like VP had 2 good minutes there out of the time bank on Esperanza, but that's all they needed to be able to get it done is they get on the board is what they need a reverse sweep here to send themselves to Stockholm as they keep themselves alive. But Twisted Minds still looks very good throughout the series. They shouldn't panic just
no
yet.
reason for that. It's Virtus.pro that need to show us what they're capable of. It's Virtus.pro that need to show us a little bit more of that grit and determination to finish out a series like this. But something changed midway through that Esperanza map. Somebody on the VP side managed to shake some sense into the rest of that team because they look like a different squad. I'm sure Odesk would agree. There's plenty to talk about here, including a possible VP reverse sweep.
Is it possible? Well, they certainly keep themselves alive in this series. Zoe here joined by McGravy and Johnny. And I mean, look, here's the thing. We thought this was gonna end quickly, even at the beginning of this third map, VP, which is they're hard locked in on their style for the day, their flavor of the day. Sana locked in on that Genji, didn't look too hot, and then suddenly something switched. You, as a former player, a former coach, still coach actually, or yes?
Yes.
No? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
How does such a sudden shift happen? Like, what is going on in a team come there?
It could be anything. It could be one player throwing a fit, saying, just putting their foot down, saying, let's just push, guys. Because that on that map, when I was watching, that was kind of the difference for me. I felt like they were taking charge of the map. I would say the Pharah on that map is not so good because it's so wide open. That's the strength of the Pharah in these close quarter situations. Lambda gets a lot of value off the Pharah. This one's a little more open, but it really felt like VP was taking control of the game with the Genji, the Orisa ult. They were going first. Sana was getting huge kills, and when Shockwave got that space from going forward, he was hitting headshot after headshot. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think we saw in Surabasa especially, we saw them try to mimic that style somewhat, where they were actually quite proactive with the ultimate usage. They were trying to push certain parts of Twisted Minds down, but Twisted Minds, they did such a good job peeling away and backing off fights and establishing multiple angles to deal this poke. Quartz didn't shoot his spam from the same position that Lambda did, obviously, and then you had TVNT coming from a third direction. And it makes it really difficult for a team like VP, with the Genji especially, like, do we go for the backline here? Are we pushing the Brig? Are we pushing for Quartz? And that has been what has been so difficult so far for Virtus.pro. They have been trying to be proactive, but not always do they get value. And it means that Lambda is able to shoot freely, lands on poke damage, Quartz finishes them off. And it was just too much in the first couple of maps.
Yeah, I think VP's had the right idea from the start. They just weren't connecting. I feel like Sana initiated. He went forward with the dash. There was just never the follow-up. There was never the break follow-up or the Orisa. There never was a connection on that last map, Esperanza. It felt like every time Sana went in, there was an immediate follow-up from somebody else, whether it be Shockwave on an off angle, Rajaro pushing in with the Orisa and his cooldowns. It just feels like they're finally connecting now, but the trouble is they put themselves in such a hole where Twisted Minds now can go to these more far-favored maps, more of these closer maps where the spam damage can really take over. So VP has a lot of work cut out for him.
Well, then if we are heading to those pharma-centric maps where Lambda can, free range shoot out there again, what do you want to see from VP? How can they shut it down effectively?
Well, we get a bit of a spoiler in the studio here, so...
Is it behind me?
Yes, it's in fact, it's behind you, so the map's behind you.
Wait, no one knows. You could have just looked really smart.
We do get a bit of a spoiler. So the next map, it's going to be King's Row, which is a good farm map. So
yeah, I would say the best right now in this meta. Pharah is super strong on this map. You have to think about the first point where everyone wants to set up on those high grounds on defense. All those windows for if you're playing Ana or whatever you're playing, the Ashe. You can't do anything because the Pharah is able to just sit there and spam. The Orisa wants to sit in that little statue with the mini, and the Pharah can sit on the angle and force him out. Pharah just has so many unique ways to play. It's going to be a big challenge for VP in my mind.
We did see VP earlier, of course, on King's Row, where Charlie,
different scenario,
Charlie,
different matchup.
His name has joined us quickly for that experience, if I dare say. But yeah, it's going to be a very different look, of course, going up against Twisted Minds, who will have a great old field trip with their Pharah on King's Row. But this is VP's only opportunity to bring it back, stay not only in the tournament, but also in contention to get to Sweden for our World Finals. Can they get it done? Let's find out and send it over to Matt and Mitch.
So we've averted a 3-0 in the Virtus.pro camp at the very least. Morale starting perhaps to improve. But we of course allowed Twisted Minds to make a map selection, and it is one best suited to Labda's Pharah play here, Matt.
If there is a team though that could boom after just one map loss where they're looking great, it would be Twisted Minds off of history, right? I mean,
it's true.
Looks like VP.
I mean, it was a bit of a boom
defense.
on Esperanza, honestly. Like, I don't think we've seen such a big fumble on that map in a while.
Yeah, a bit. It'll actually be VP playing the far on defense. So I'm curious, like, how this kind of works here and plays for Twisted Minds. If they feel that they actually need to kind of change anything, it'll be one of the first times you actually see this mirrored.
Yeah, Quartz obviously, you know, you think he might try and play like a wide angle or to that far right side, trying to deny like Sauna being able to play out in the open at all, but instead he goes into the hotel first. And honestly, like, this is still a bit awkward for Sauna. Like, kind of has to spam towards these doors here. But it leaves Shockwave free to put pressure down on TVNT and kind of try and prevent this, ideally. This Twisted Minds just moving up and arbitrarily contesting the point out in the open.
That's 3 hits.
So it'll be at least one tick here for Twisted Minds. Lambda just trying to put some damage down on the Orisa, maybe even trying to give Quartz a little bit of an option to stay up there on the high ground as we're getting very close towards the second checkpoint. It'll be Teams getting it back up there for a second. Yeah, that's going to be 2 for
Do we know what to do here? They're really waiting until the last moment here. 2.5 ticks picked up. Okay, they do find Quartz, collapse on him. Now they need to do something about the point. Looks like Twisted Minds are going to make the decision for them and sort of pull off for now. Yep, I think they saw Canale inside the hotel. TVNT saw an opportunity to stop the cap and get rid of the brig.
And something interesting when we're watching Twisted Minds, it's a lot of time like TVNT like kind of playing offensively on his own. It'll be orbital raise here from both teams, a little bit of a light show, and MCD picks up Gala.
Okay, no Juno here now for Virtus.pro. Can they make up the deficit with something like this? Yes, a great Terror Surge from Rajaro. Blitz also goes very low to it, so both supports got stuck in there, but of course Quartz chooses a moment like this to come alive. Still only 9 HP, needs his Mega. From the point, TVNT's able to hold it down. Twisted Minds with 4:38 to play. Unleash Lambda on Virtus.pro.
And that's such an odd scenario there for Sauna, right? We're you know, watching a little bit from his POV, but do you go chase Quartz? He's going to go get that Mega. You can't exactly do that because you got to work your way back towards the point to be able to kind of contest. So it puts in a really rough spot there. Not able to keep it contested. That'll be the first point there for Twisted Minds. Now look at this. I mean, they're wasting no time getting aggressive.
Now Rajaro popping all those cooldowns before he can remotely come forward to that corner. All the while, Bot making its move. Bob stopped there midway through his charge that allows Twisted Minds to have a place to fall back to. Not so much Virtus.pro. They're already extended quite far towards this Bob. But they have a 6th player to help them bring the other Omnic down. Running here, active right for Canale, doesn't protect him against Quartz, finds his head, Rajaro low as well. Eventually, you could say he dragged off his horse, but he is the horse. Quartz, easy come, easy go. Virtus.pro head out the door by the scruff of their necks.
And they timed that so perfectly there, Twisted Minds. So as soon as Canale's rally is over, Bliss pops rally, they run right up. They just blow up the brig on the other side. So also Sauna now completely done with the bar. Uses the barrage there, doesn't really add anything with it. Twisted Minds pushes up. They want to try and deny any type of space. Don't allow them to get in, get a touch here. You know, make Rajaro pay with his health pool.
That's a resource, in fairness. Orbital Ray disengaged from.
This is good for Twisted Minds.
Good in general. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Not what VP were looking for. Yeah, not a good opportunity to make use of the combat stats of that Orbital Ray. Healing that they don't need, damage boost that they can't use. It's a disaster. Sauna here forcing the deflect with a sliver of health left, so eventually he will have to succumb. And Twisted Minds showing us exactly why they dragged us out to the streets of Kings Row.
2 fights back-to-back where Twisted Minds shows that really good patience that we've seen from them throughout this series. The first one, like I mentioned, Canale rallies, they back up a little bit. Bliss comes back with a rally towards the end of it, they win it there. Gala ends up opening things, nice shot by Shockwave, opening things there with his own orbital ray. They just back up, wait a beat, come around the corner, and they end up using their own and getting an easy fight.
Shockwave.
Shockwave's in
He's in the microwave here. Terror Surge for TVNT gets the one, but I don't know if that's quite worth it. It depends. Can Lambda now come alive? Yep. Turn this absence of Widowmaker into some kills. You better believe it. The investment in making sure Lambda has free reign by TVNT is repaid with interest.
Yeah, this should, okay, I was going to say it should allow for Quartz to take high ground, but he actually opts not to take the high ground. He's going to take an angle here from the side. I wonder if he's going to come out and just try and, like, dynamite both these players, but he's going to get found out, though, by Sauna.
He doesn't feel like he can obviously fight Shockwave. So allows him.
Did Sona not see Quartz there?
Riley there for Bliss. Can he just keep that shield up and stay alive? Yeah, the healing comes in a little bit slowly. Yeah, all right. Eventually, Gala says, you, sir, deserve a torpedo. Kanale and Virtus.pro able to run Twisted Minds over. One of their better fights we've seen all map.
Yeah, and to give you an idea, I mean, probably didn't need that much of an idea, but how much they want to play the far, we're seeing it being played just straight up into the Widow here on the final part of King's Row. As Quartz now will go Widowmaker here, just trying to even it up. But a little bit of pressure here onto Shockwave, not making it as easy for him to just kind of own in on
That's
that
their strat, right? I mean, if they get like a Widow counter to the Pharah, they just make Quartz play Widow. Trust him to win the duel.
Yeah.
More often than not, that's how things have panned out, honestly. Orbital Ray again for Virtus.pro, really just them baring their teeth at Twisted Minds. Once more, no opportunity to actually use the ultimate. Good disengage. It's the patience and Twisted Minds. It looks like Virtus.pro are struggling to get a feel for that kind of pace. So TVNT's very deep behind enemy lines, and Shockwave just picks a fight with Labda, well, outside of his optimal range.
Well, when Quartz plays Widow as well, it also makes you, yeah, I mean, if you're like Shockwave, right? You can't exactly just play out in the open, play safe, and go for just the, Pharah pickoffs. You have to play so cautious, with then allows Labda to play a little bit more aggressive again. There'll be an infra sight here from Shockwave.
Good angle here.
I mean, look at that. I mean, he has to just kind of peek the corner there. I mean, this is a really weird scenario.
Oh,
I mean, Labda being that far in is, that is silly.
Your ankles, man, absolutely broken. Sort of gets caught, but MCD just whips around and lazily deals with the Genji threat. The barrage, can it save them? Well, Kanala's down. That's a problem here for Rujaro. Tries to get Labda close enough for a big old bear hug, but Pharah's able to get some altitude and now some distance. Still though, very, very low. Healing doesn't come when it needs to now. Rally in play for Bliss, which is unfortunately not what Twisted Minds need here.
Yeah, so they try and force it with a rally there at the end with Labda alive. I believe maybe TVNT was alive there for a brief period of time. And it is not enough. The Sauna now going over to Tracer here. So the Tracer definitely, this is going to put a little bit more pressure on the Quartz, right? So they're trying to open things up a little bit for Shockwave yet again.
Oh, beautiful shots. He's ready for Shockwave there to land off the jump, and Gala's low. Labda's able to finish him off there. Might have been some splash up against the periphery. Sort of here on the Tracer, kind of feels silly out in the open there. This is going to allow Twisted Minds to end the map. Sauna almost staggers himself, trying to stay alive, trying to get a chance to touch Orbital Ray. MCD just throws it all in, says if not now, we won't have a chance to use it. So with a little bit of time left, Twisted Minds threaten to finish the map. It goes a long way on a hybrid map, make no mistake here. 5.5 seconds left.
Yeah, and with some time, right? That is huge there for Twisted Minds. It's not easy towards the later part of the map, but they do get it done, and most importantly with that 5 seconds. And man, dude, if you just watch this series and you're like, wow, how did this team struggle for so much of the year right after the beginning part for Twisted Minds? I mean, they look awesome today in this series. Really, giving Virtus.pro a lot of trouble. I wonder if we'll see, maybe VP even start off with the Widow, right? I know the Widow from Shockwave was pretty effective. Do you try and do something a little bit different here at the start?
Honestly, coming out with that early Widow does kind of mean the Twisted Minds either counter it with Tracer, which they don't do. Some teams have opted for that. Or they just hope that their Ashe can win the fight. I'm fine with it, really. It's really threatening and often requires a switch in response or changes the way fundamentally that you play on this first point.
Yeah, it just feels like we've seen what happens with the Genji setup, right? And we've also kind of seen a little bit of what happens if you're going to match like the Pharah Ashe, right? It seems like both of those kind of play exactly into what Twisted Minds wants to do. So maybe they change it up a little bit. I think that Widow at the end definitely it made Labda a little bit easier to rail in.
Shockwave stays on the Widow here. And we'll obviously look to post up on that right-hand side in time. Virtus.pro really need to establish a safe zone around that statue before that's an option for the Widow here.
I like this call here from VP. I think, you know, pulling that Ashe, just playing the mirror, or playing the Ashe with the Genji would not have worked out. I mean, dude, look at the angle he's taking. I mean, you can't even really see it.
Left, I think, for a moment they wanted to play forward, but TVNT gets brought down here. Virtus.pro with the Widow. I said it changes the way you play. It definitely makes you uncomfortable. And Rajaro's able to knock up his second kill of this fight. Twisted Minds, a very short-lived hold on this first point.
Yeah, as you know, the Widow, I think, just kind of changes maybe the positioning of things, right? You know, Lambda can't play as aggressive, but you get TVNT really weak, and then you just kind of push him out. As that's going to force a Widow response here for Twisted Minds. So Quartz wants to, you know, mirror that Widow. I also think this makes it a little bit easier for Sauna, right? I know you're able to try and make a play for the enemy Widow, not exactly going into multiple players. It's okay. Shockwave's going to change and play Cassidy here in that shorter range part of the map.
Maybe feels like that. Yeah, you want an answer to more than just the Pharah. Sauna Genji, of course, still. Shockwave here really hopes that Rajaro can be the protector, but here comes the Orisa of TVNT. Okay, there was intervention from Kanea Little East, so Shockwave lives to fight another day, and Twisted Minds on the back foot yet again. Virtus.pro are starting to figure this out. Perhaps last map wasn't just a fluke here. This is a massive time bank and a huge surge of momentum coming off of point A. Interception there for Lambda as the Javelin comes in clutch.
Oh man, as they just continue to get the payload moving here through the second part of the map, I think Quartz will probably change off of this. Is some nice adjustments here for Virtus.pro early on King's Row. Like, do you maybe don't switch this if you're Twisted Minds, because I was going to say the last part of the map is good for the Widow, but they decided to just match in terms of playing the Cassidy.
It definitely can be, providing that the attackers don't get a real foothold on the other bit of high ground. Where even Ashe can be Widow at that range. Orbital Ray here going to be thrown out hastily by MCD. Twisted Minds really on the back foot once more. Terra Surge though gets rid of Gala. Not before he dispensed though with his ultimate. A nice conk. That's going to keep Sauna at bay as Lambda tries to find a way to have an impact in this fight, but the barrage just results in him getting blown up. And Virtus.pro with a gigantic 5-17 time bank.
Yes, I mean, this feels like we're going to go to a game 5, right? I mean, with the way that VP has bounced back on this map, is now they're getting control of that high ground. Quartz just gets deleted there. Nice spear from Rajaro. This is VP. I mean, dude, this is going down to the wire potentially. Yeah, I know, with a lot on the line as they are just kind of pushing them back here. Deadeye for Shockwave. Gonna try and make his way around the corner. Finds Lambda.
That's devastating. Far out, caught out in the open as Shockwave just swings to the left. Clips her wings instantly. This might be the biggest time bank that we've seen on this map for this stage, this rate. One more chance. That's all Twisted Minds have, and they've got to get out with the Radial Bliss, but Lambda's already been taken down. Sauna just meets him at the door and doesn't permit him access to the rest of the map. Bliss under extreme pressure here, trying to shield bash forward, but eventually has to get back to cover. And who would have thought that Virtus.pro would convert on the recovery on Esperanza into a more than 4-minute time bank here, make it 5:05 against Twisted Minds.
So not exactly over, but
kind of over.
I mean, you gotta feel really good if you're VP. And there's no way Twisted Minds just fumbles it throughout the rest of the series. I mean, they've looked so good. Even on Esperanza, like you mentioned, it felt like they had an opportunity to definitely win that one. I mean, this is just a drubbing, it feels like, though, on King's Row. I mean, dude, the reverse sweep, I mean, that would almost like sum up Twisted Minds season, right? In that they've looked so great, and then somehow it just is a loss, right? We'll see Twisted Minds on offense first, right? No, not a lot of time in the bank, so they'll get an opportunity to attack. They'll probably be happy with just about anything, right? I mean, I don't think they can, you know, they could certainly, you know, run the table, right? We've seen it in the past with teams, but it feels like it would be mighty difficult with the way the Virtus.pro's playing around this far.
But just to reiterate, Twisted Minds qualification for OWCS Stockholm hangs in the balance here. They can win this map and be guaranteed for that event. But winning this map with a 4-minute and 5-second deficit in time bank is almost impossible. At this level, basically unimaginable.
Yeah, they need to win this one, Twisted Minds, and then also have some stuff go right in the next series, I believe. We'll get an update on that probably when we get to the desk if Twisted Minds wins, but looks like it's just an off angle here taken from Son. Doesn't want to poke out against the Widow of Quartz.
Everyone holding out of sidelines here, but Twisted Minds have already gotten themselves a tick as a result of Virtus.pro being a little cagey about this. They've got to choose their time to strike. They've got to pivot off that back foot, but TVNT's been able to get in there, get amongst the hotel. Sauna looks like he was hit by a javelin in mid-air there. Now Labda wants to try and close the gap on the Juno. Can't quite get there though, but it's looking rough for Rajaro. MCD was down though at least, so decent damage done for Virtus.pro, but if Twisted Minds get this checkpoint, it's all for naught. They've got to do more, and instead they're going to have to let it go. Twisted Minds will get a payload here in extra time.
I mean, this is massive, right? It actually just forces BP to take first point and then some. I mean, any type of progress here for Twisted Minds, it is just... I mean, you are just thankful that it even happens, right? I mean, giving up a 5-minute time bank is unreal. So just to be able to get it to a point where it feels winnable again, it's quite massive. You're going to have Terror Surge here for TVNT. You're also probably going to end up with a barrage here by the time the next fight kicks off.
Down already. That means Labda now can do as he pleases, including closing the gap on Sauna, who's forced to play through from those tunnels. Instead, TVNT largely being ignored by Rajaro. Eventually, he's going to demand the attention of everybody on the side of Virtus.pro. He has a Terror Surge to throw in here, and with Canale down, the options for VP are starting to run thin. They have a chance to convert Virtus.pro on this map, but they've got to put a defense together soon.
Yeah, no, Twisted Minds, they play really patient there after that first kill. They decide not to invest anything in the fight. They hold on to everything they got here coming up for this next fight. If you could get second checkpoint here for Twisted Minds, I mean, that would be absurd with just a minute on the clock.
They've got decent ultimates here. So did Virtus.pro though. Neither team's really had a reason or opportunity in the case of VP to use them gainfully. Here's that patient poke. Court's a little bit low. It's going to be an orbital ray to start things off for Twisted Minds. They can't afford to be second to the punch. They have to go now. Barrage for Labda over the top. Rajaro is overwhelmed, but Shockwave's able to trade things out and get rid of the Farah himself. Gala just sitting back here, trying to make sure at least that Sauna can get a good barrage off of his own, but it's interrupted now. Stunned by the shield bash. Low was TVNT with a rally. Gets him healed back up. Bliss overrun by Canale with the shield bash. Stun of his own. And TVNT's looking for a way in, but so far it's just players thick and fast with individuals. Virtus.pro. What a storm over this cart, but they've lost Canale. They've lost the checkpoint. Somehow Twisted Minds have taken it to 5 here with a minute to play. And Virtus.pro have to stop them here.
Yeah, Quartz playing in that alley all the way in the distance. Actually, he's able to farm up a Bob during that, and that's the biggest impact, right? You see Canale's HP drop so fast. It's because there's a Bob directly behind him. Shockwave coming up with a Deadeye, picking up some kills, finishing off Twisted Minds. But still, Mitch, they get the second checkpoint as well. I mean, that is a huge comeback there for Twisted Minds.
When you set the stakes, you said Twisted Minds will be happy with anything on that attack side. A tick of point A, they probably would have had to be satisfied with. This is probably more than they bargained for, and more than Virtus.pro were expecting to have to give up. But the fact remains that they still have 5 minutes to get to that second checkpoint. That is a long, long time.
And to give you an update on the qualification, hearing from Comp Ops, right? So if Twisted Minds wins this map in series, they're technically not qualified for Stockholm yet. It's because Labda has played more maps than UB this stage, which would kind of have his points matter, right? So it's not like you can just add tons of players to a roster, just kind of like farm up points, right? You have like a core group that earns points based off of the play time. They're only separated by like one map though, right? So in theory, Twisted Minds would win and then just play UB in the next series the entire time, and they'd be fine.
So
right?
that would actually require them to run UB, and it doesn't matter what the result of the series is.
Or just say, screw it, we're going for gold and play Labda and win the next match. So
that is okay. All right.
That is also though because like teams could in theory like farm, just hey let's get together and just put together a roster of 10 players with points, right?
Checks out. No, it absolutely makes sense. It's just such an interesting arrangement to get into here. So Shockwave wants to get across now. So he will get into that very standard spot. Lambda wants to pepper it down, but can't stay out in the open forever. TVNT, of all people, goes after that widow position. And has to hope that Rajaro doesn't like waste to his team, but honestly, Twisted Minds are doing just fine without Orisa right now. Oh my.
And what are you looking for here if you're Twisted Minds? I think like if they take checkpoint A and there's like, I don't know, 2 minutes on the clock, you feel pretty good about that, right? I think you're probably looking at another like 2 fights to try and win.
Yeah, you definitely have opportunities to stop that VP momentum. And obviously there's no time extensions for getting point A here if you're Virtus.pro. We're in extra innings, so no time extensions whatsoever. Again, TVNT takes this route here to try and punish the hit scan player who wants to go up the stairs, but they've got Kanale elsewhere. Shockwave doesn't have a sideline here. TVNT's happy to find Virtus.pro right in this location, because Shockwave is virtually useless in terms of his impact on the rest of the map. You see, Shockwave is trying to ignore TVNT, but you can't do that with Orisa.
Yes, now another fight win here for Twisted Minds.
This should be back soon.
You hold on to both these ultimates as well. Yeah, you're going to have everybody back here for this next fight as Sonic gets quite low. Can't afford a stagger in this type of scenario, right?
Okay, there's the brick. TVNT, dangerous. Doesn't want to be overwhelmed here. Orbital Ray going to be used, but that's mostly just for MCD's benefit. But hey, he converts it into a kill, so no one's going to complain. Sauna there just hangs out in the open, and Virtus.pro say stop. They've used Orbital Ray. We've got our own here. Keep it in reserve.
Yes, they have to back up now here, holding on to the Orbital Ray in rally. Really, I think, is VP just going for a scenario where they just kind of
use 6 ults,
put together 5 ultimates and just dump, right? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it looks like here at the moment.
All right, no, they're going to start with an Orbital Ray here, flank around. I don't think Twisted Minds are ready for that. Lambda taken down instantly. Quartz is dead-eyed, nothing from that either. Sauna goes for that blade. So VP ration these ultimates a little more. They're going to have themselves this point A. Nothing is certain. And Virtus.pro still need to earn that second checkpoint.
Now you use a lot here to get this first checkpoint, and I don't think they're going to be able to like push up either, right? And you know, gain a ton of space. That would have been a huge kill there if you got the spear on the Quartz and then finished him off. As see now, Lambda just putting down some damage here onto the Orisa. So Rajaro taking some big damage. Also, yeah, and I don't really love Rajaro in this like side room, right? I mean, just an easy way to farm that damage.
The cut's too far back for you to really have a chance at a foothold there. I think they're trying to avoid the Pharah and maybe like, circumvent the parts of the map where she's the strongest. Shockwave is not allowed to play from that window either. Sauna might double up here. Deflex for Shockwave. Here comes the bomb. Oh, Sauna able to find Lambda at the very least, so it's a trade here. No Pharah up for Twisted Minds right now, but they have that rally. Here comes Rajaro. Terra Surge thrown out, and Kanale is able to roll Bliss with a whip shot. Into the back goes Sauna. Quartz was deep in enemy territory. The Twisted Minds have to hope that was enough, because they have 1, maybe 2 more fights.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the biggest thing now is how many more fights do you have? I think it's probably 1. You see Sauna like pushing up here, just trying to get some damage down.
Does Lambda make a play
players come out of the
with a flank barrage to end this?
I mean, I don't know. I think you probably played this corner, right? It's so strong to be able to just kind of play this corner,
but
put
it's
down
obvious.
some damage.
Shockwave also has a good line on Lambda here. Having to play from that stairway across the way. Can we flank this? Gala going to get that orbital ray up straight away. TVNT not ready. MCD's holding it. Holding it. Holding it. Has to use it now. Okay, the Deadeye comes in, but Sword is there with 2. Lambda finds 1. Is that going to be enough? He needs to get into the orbital ray. He needs that healing, but the Dragon Blade comes in from Sword, and he's being safe about it. Deflected first. Now chase the Pharah. Lambda brought down. 35 seconds left in the round, and Virtus.pro here are within touching distance. 1 meter to go, and Virtus.pro squeeze that checkpoint out. There's no chance of a stall here for Twisted Minds. I don't think they can get here and touch properly. So Virtus.pro, so close to their goal, will be forcing a map number 5.
Oh, and I mean, you think about Twisted Minds, right? They gave up a 5-minute plus time bank. And they still almost battle back, but VP, they clutch up in the end. Like you mentioned, I think one of the biggest things here, right, is Quartz playing the Cassidy. instead of actually playing that Ashe, right? You were mentioning like Shockwave actually that time was able to take that alleyway over, you know, and really just kind of like look across the point and really uncontested. It's just definitely more in Ashe's range than Cassidy's. Is what do you do now, right? If you're Twisted Minds, I mean, well, we've had you know, Control, Flashpoint, pushing in hybrid. So you think about the escorts, right? I mean, we have a Junkertown decider. I mean, it's possible, and I think Twisted Minds, you know, you end up losing the series. You are just, you know, you fumbled your defense so hard here. You gave away Esperanza. I feel like that was one that I definitely think they could have won. Right, they were up by, you know, 70+ meters on Esperanza. I mean,
I think the fumble is real. I mean, they made it real competitive here on Kings Road, but their defense side was so pitiful, so poor, to allow VP to turn around with over 5 minutes.
Is a really good word to use to talk about their defense. I mean, it was just uncontested. I mean, it looked like a completely different team.
They got dog defense, bro. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, you end the map with over 4 minutes in your time bank. You have not really done anything. That is not enough. That is not enough at this level. It's not enough at any level, frankly. And yeah, they're going to be looking back on that and going, man, we really let this get the better of us. We really let this get away from us. This is a team that's like more recently put together, right? And like you sort of pointed out, they do need to win this series to have a chance at Stockholm. From that point, it's a little bit of math that needs to be done, but they can basically deterministically guarantee it.
I mean, if they want to, right? I do wonder. I know we'll have to obviously get a comp update, right? But like, you know, Labda just playing more maps here. Does that mean that like the next series with UB has to go a certain like distance or whatnot? But you know, they know that stuff better than we do. A lot of damage here. In favor of Twisted Minds still, but you see the gap closing, right? Playing a little bit more far here for VP.
I mean, a pretty even game, all things considered. At the end of it, Twisted Minds managed to bring back a huge deficit on their defense. I think they had 3 fights on that first point, a few on that second, and it really pushed down to the last minute or so of play. And really, it was VP just taking the initiative and going for that earlier orbital ray. That ultimate that really dictates this metagame just outside of the Foundry. Sauna gets in after having a really tough map and gets a quick double kill.
Do you think we're getting Junkertown here? Really?
No, I don't think so. I don't.
You can see it. What is it? What is it?
Can't see it right now. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
So we are. It's going to be a secret.
Oh, I mean, I think the start of this map is so important for Twisted Minds. I mean, the mental boomage with a reverse sweep and knowing how much pressure is on the line, you got to get off to a good start. I mean, just settle the nerves. And I think it's like more rattling because you were so dominant in the first 2 maps, right? The first 2 maps were, they weren't close. Like, it was just dominance from Twisted Minds. And then VP, I mean, you see how close their King's Row is, and then also Esperanza, right? We don't have the exact meterage up there, but pretty close game as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 90 odd meters on Esperanza for, you know, Twisted Minds. They were ahead by about 70 at some point, but they feel like they allowed that first checkpoint to get taken really easily. I mean, that's looking back such a long way now. Of course, this is good news for you out there if you're still farming the last couple of your drops, because for today and tomorrow, we are into our second phase of viewership incentives here, including an OWCS Soldier 76 home skin. That's for 8 hours of watching. Today should have gotten you a pretty decent way there, folks.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, you stay and hang out and watch NA. I mean, you could end up all the way there, right?
Also, I think they're live for our co-streamers as well. So obviously, as we raid them at the end of the stream, go and hang out and get some more of that progress.
Today's co-streamer. I don't think all the co-streamers. I think the day's special.
Yeah, the co-streamer of the day. So because I think yesterday it was Kevin. Yeah, Avril obviously was co-streaming yesterday. So keep an eye out for that.
I think today's. I want to say today's Commander X and tomorrow's Avast.
There you go.
I'm just remembering that graphic, you know, the old J3 picture. Yeah, there it is.
All right, so Commander X is the place to be. If you haven't got your drops at the end of today, you can get over there and obviously get some insights from the man himself. And then Avast, the homie, we're joining us tomorrow.
Look at what a professional he looks like.
Yeah, you know, he's kind of a professional these days. I'm not going to lie. At least when I've seen him work. a little reformed. He's an adult, mostly.
You're walking it back with every statement you make.
Because then I just start thinking about my interactions with him. I'm like, oh, actually, Rialto here is going to be the pick for this last map. Twisted Minds lock it in. In the end, no Junkertown shenanigans.
Yeah, so Rialto, this is a map that you can play Pharah and you can play Widow, right? It's just not as wonky and silly as Junkertown tends to be, right? So the thing that's scary here though is like we end up with a lot of like first point holds, right? Very difficult to kind of break on through. I would assume, yeah, okay, so without actually seeing the, when we started to see the outlines coming out of the spawn, I was like, that is definitely VP coming out of the base, right? Because that is a Widow Tracer setup here.
Okay. Sauna here not feeling the Genji this time around. In fairness, a lot of good little flank routes that Tracer can take here, knowing full well that Twisted Minds are going to roll out on a pretty standard composition, I think. Wouldn't shock me to see the Diva. You don't really want to be fully ground-born on this kind of map, especially not, geez, there's so much of it. You want to be able to get up on that high ground. So, here we go. The cider map is Rialto here. Twisted Minds and Virtus.pro, who pushed them to the very limit. And with potential qualification for Stockholm on the line, well, you may as well go for it.
I mean, that is just a silly shot that nobody really is going to kind of contest with. Also, worth pointing out, MCD coming out on the early on. So a lot of long like sight lines you have to heal here on Rialto, and then for the nano boost, I guess you're looking at Lambda and TVNT. Really, I mean, I guess you can nano the Brig, but it's not really a kind of meta where you could do that or would be preferential to do that.
VP are playing the Juno in the Brig comp, which is seen much less often, right? It's not like Orbital Ray is such like a shock and awe fight-winning ultimate in that case, because ordinarily Rajaro is going to be back and forth, try to, go between putting pressure down on backliners and protecting his own. So see if that ends up being like, a big part of the game plan here. This VP need to try and get Shockwave rolling here. Couple shots, couple eliminations, really get that confidence flowing.
Rajaro got hit with a bio grenade there. Almost actually ends up getting demeched.
Corsi kind of ignoring the fact that he's playing in the front line virtually because he's trying to draw a bead on Shockwave across the way there. TVNT, a self-destruct here doesn't necessarily mean a remake for him. Oh, Quartz, what patience from the man. Gala on a fool's errand is brought down by Quartz.
Man.
And here come Twisted Minds, a pretty comfortable first point take.
The way Twisted Minds plays around Quartz is the way I wish my teammates and ranked played around me. I mean, he gets all the help, but it is definitely deserved, right? I mean, just being able to come up with that headshot, like you mentioned, just the patience, right? That's like a self-destruct, I believe, going off that Sauna's actually hiding behind, and just the angle that Quartz takes is phenomenal there, able to get that headshot, and then to just, not panic, right? Being able to finish off Gala is huge.
They trust Quartz, right? Just to do his thing. I don't think they really think about it all that much outside of getting thrown a heal every now and then by someone like MCD. This is pretty steady progress here. You'll notice that Rajaro is trying to use that doorway to contest the card and slow it up. So it really makes very glacial progress here. But once we get past the doorway, now you cannot contest it so easily. You'll need a full back here for Virtus.pro. Play around the rally here, maybe to fully commit to the fight. Instead, TVNT DMEC, that's the pulse of Sauna going to work. But Bliss's rally makes it harder for follow-up to occur for Virtus.pro. Now the barrage here for Lambda in the window. It's ballsy.
He's got the benefits of the nano as well, right? So he's putting down some massive damage there, going up to the high ground, but he's just getting shots from the Juno from one side, and not anymore, right? As Gala falls in the hands of Quartz, and then the Diva Rajaro still able to stay alive here as TVNT just fighting for a mech back, not gonna get it, but man, what a crazy scenario. You send Lambda up to the high ground there with the nano, trying to get a barrage, trying to get a DMEC really of Rajaro. Doesn't actually pan out. Turns down, grabs the Tracer, but not enough to get the car moving again.
Quartz had a poison mine over there apparently, but right now he's just looking for grapple shots. Shockwave also trying to play in a safe zone away from Pharah's long-range harassment. Okay, Quartz does not have infra here. This is Shockwave's ultimate being used, but he got hit with a bio-nade. Still, because of the pressure right now on Quartz, there's no opportunity for him to try and get involved in the Widow fight. That ultimate's expired, but it allowed Rajaro at least to get a player advantage for Virtus.pro, so they should be able to ease into this a little longer.
Yeah, This is one of the harder points, actually, probably to get the Pharah like directly across that bridge, right? It's just a large expanse to cross, especially with the Widow on the other side. Just how much the game has slowed down since we got to this point.
Sornovo got picked off there, just lingering a little bit too close to some very vigilant defenders. Quartz is able to get the Mega before he gets out. Rajaro now realizes, wait, my plan requires me to get the Mega. I'm going to have to use an ult here to remake. Big damage taken, still no Mega to pick up. Now, that's devastating. In fact, he probably wanted that, to be fair. Desuited over the water mark. Means that he gets eliminated instantly. Shockwave down now. TVNT's able to find that elimination. Quartz won't be moving from this position for a little while yet until the car rounds the corner properly. And Bliss is ensuring that happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great spot for Quartz to just kind of sit there and farm. You see how difficult it is to get him off of that, right? When Rajaro goes to challenge him, he's got the Mega Health Pack right there, also has some healing at range, as now he has to move up with where this cart is, but does have the benefits, I was going to say, of the infra site, and that's actually Labdu who takes out Sauna with like a rocket to the side.
Yeah, Sauna dropped a pulse there, by the way, or at least he tried to. Lost that ability entirely. Another Nano Pharah to come in here. Gala never had a moment to recover. Labda probably just floats above this orbital right here. Makes it costly for Virtus.pro to take this ground and actually just lingers out in front here. So Rajaro, it's an easy pick up for him. TVNT at least can fight it back, but this has become too scrappy for Twisted Minds, and that early momentum that they had has started to peter out.
Yes, now you're going to have to go back to the scenario where we're just fighting over the bridge here, right? As MCD will actually change and play the Juno. So he's playing the Ana throughout a lot of this.
60 seconds.
Here on offense on Rialto, but feel like maybe here for the end, right? I know playing for Juno probably puts out around the same healing as Yana, but also then provides like the speed and a little bit of extra damage, especially up close.
In for it now for Shockwave. Twisted Minds need to find a way. This is now no longer a great sideline for Widow. It's much closer to the Tracer than I think Quartz would really like. Well, I don't know, Labda just got caught up there. This is an hold up amongst the flailing of limbs. Shockwave, though, really has a nice little loose end here that he can use to punish now Twisted Minds as they hope to back away across the bridge. TM are down to their last-ditch effort on Rialto's attack.
Yeah, who is even going to get a touch here? You're going to have to change one of these players, especially the damage dealers, to move up and get a touch. They both stay, so you're going to have the Pharah still in the mix, and same with the Widow. And is anyone even going to get there?
Okay, TVNT's on the push here.
TVNT's fine.
I think they've realized now. Rajaro on the double back, Bliss at least being picked up by Sauna, but Kanale is down, and Labda's going to punish. They get their backs turned as TVNT sails into this next checkpoint. Rajaro got Labda, has got a touch now. Self-destruct for a remake, but it has to survive the blast here. Kanale comes on in, Lucio to boop TVNT out of the way. Rajaro's able to get his mech back. Okay, maybe you can salvage this. TVNT low. Can't push it any further now. Would love to get back in the mech, and Shockwave will allow for this to occur. Rajaro's there the whole time, but it's coming in back on the Lucio. Keep your eyes to the sky. Good DM to keep Shockwave alive a little bit longer, but it's not quite going to be enough. It's TVNT with the micro rockets, bringing the Cassidy down. And Quartz now has a perch to play from. Twisted Minds are far from done.
How did TVNT get all, like, everybody ends up dying there for Twisted Minds. It's like a full reset. How does he actually even get back there to get the cart moving yet again? And then Bliss comes in there on the Lucio, does a nice job protecting Quartz as those players that he ends up taking out. The first two are trying to make a play for Quartz as he's getting a sight line there, overlooking the point as now Twisted Minds gives themselves an opportunity to finish the map.
Haven't seen this part of Rialto in a hot minute, honestly. Tough map to finish. Ray up here for MCD just in time, but okay. Gonna be used here by Twisted Minds as Virtus.pro kind of just used theirs to back up behind, but Shockwave was so deep. Maybe some crossed wires there. Either way, Twisted Minds are going to capitalize and look to really make this a crushing punishment for Virtus.pro.
Yeah, as you end up losing Rajaro here, so the cart's going to get around the corner here. Final fight territory. 30 seconds left, one fight needed for Twisted Minds to end up completing the map. And considering how good VP's defense was in the second part of it, it'd be brutal to give up this map completion as Labda getting the barrage. How is he going to get in here to use it? He uses the conk, gets himself in a position. Nice spear, though, from
Healing
Rajaro.
is well and truly good enough, though, for Labda, as no one else could shoot at him. But that Orisa there, and in the spawn we go. Gala can't do a thing about the barrage. Labda has to hope that 2 support kills is enough, and I tend to agree. Twisted Minds somehow get the map done.
I mean, the healing is phenomenal there onto Labda, and then also the space kind of taken up there by TVNT. I mean, he just barrels into the spawn. I mean, who the hell cares about my HP pool? I'm going forward, and he just barges on in. And Labda, it opens up the door right after he gets some much needed healing.
And here you have it. Twisted Minds
that spear that Rajaro hits is so hard, by the way. Like, we just kind of casually look over that, though. Like, you know, Labda just doing the conk, then dash over his head, just turns and spears into the wall. They still don't kill him. That's tough.
Because so much of the rest of Virtus.pro was still coming out of spawn or had disengaged back into spawn. So I think it was only Rajaro looking up there. But if TVNT doesn't get on the cart, sneak it over like that, we could be in a completely different world right now. A world in which Twisted Minds don't even get that second checkpoint. And yet, here we are, full map completion and time in the bank to their name. What a turn of events.
Yeah, and you think, right? For Twisted Minds, anything here on point A is good. Obviously, we do see teams, you know, get stalled out right underneath the bridge. But then considering how good VP's hold was, right? Being able to play that Widowmaker at range really kind of deny Labda any space to get across when we move into the second part of the map. You know, give Quartz that space. You think if you're Twisted Minds and you're smooth sailing, you're all the way back.
A little early grapple there from Quartz. Labda on this flank here has to know the Shockwave will come looking at this. Yeah, he knows. Never mind. So now there is theoretically a line for Shockwave to use, but Shockwave has to creep up to use it. You see Labda straight away is going to go back and check that and say, okay, I see Shockwave. You thought you'd get in. Not on my watch, buddy. Not on my watch.
I mean, that's a good first pick off, right? Now it's going to allow Labda to play pretty free here in the choke, at least for a period of time. It's also trying to, like, kind of keep tabs on the Sonic, right? Make sure Sonic can't just... Yeah, they want to make sure that he can actually, you know, keep Quartz pretty safe here. So Sonic, they got a shot there. It's going to be recall already.
Okay, but still, Sonic still alive in a threatening position. That's important. Rajaro also diving onto that high ground, making it very hard for Quartz to have anywhere to play from. There is no line that really sets this Widow up, and Shockwave, conversely, has a whole map to play with. Nicely done by VP.
Yeah, Sona does a really nice job pressuring out Quartz there, and then also Rajaro gets the kill on the front line, right? He ends up getting the kill there on the Labda, which is massive. Oh, sick shot.
Virtus.pro feel like they've got some plot armor on. I think Canal would have liked some of that, though, at least. Didn't feel like it this time. We're still finding Lab to get purchased with some of these rockets here, but this first checkpoint coming up this early is good sign for Virtus.pro. There's still a lot of map to play.
Well, I mean, that's it. That's if VP gets it, right? I mean, you have Quartz coming off a spawn, everybody now off a spawn for TM, and you just have, what, Rajaro and Sona alive here. I think you're going to be able to get a hold for now for Twisted Minds.
Despite Shockwave getting those 2 huge kills. One on, I think first it was Quartz and then on MCD.
Yeah.
They can't convert.
Yeah, it was actually, you know, TVNT using a self-destruct, being able to keep himself alive, and then you also had Bliss being able to live for an extended period there, just keeping all that healing coming from the brig. And this is like one of the hardest like corners and points of the map to get, right? It'll be orbital raise for both teams here, so you think they kind of negate each other?
This time, I think they might get through, Matt. MCD and Quartz both falling again, but this time Virtus.pro still have a full cohort of players to make sure this cart sails over the line. So we are still on track for our extra innings extravaganza here on Rialto as well as Kings Road. But Virtus.pro now need to navigate this awkward part of the map with high and low ground, both requiring equal levels of attention if they want to move that card up.
Yeah, Rajaro actually gets the benefits of the orbital ray and then goes to the high ground and just deletes Quartz, and then a pulse bomb there that comes in from Sona, and that is enough to do it. It'll be the infrasight here used by Shockwave, so trying to buy him and his team some space, right? Getting around this corner, it'll be so difficult to do. Nobody there keeping Labda alive as he just falls.
That's happened quite a lot this map. In fact, even this round, Rajaro was just noticed Labda close enough to almost guarantee that kill. And like you mentioned, the healing that was so good right at the end of that last round just couldn't be applied to Labda there.
No, I mean, he just gets disintegrated there as Rajaro just pushes up, gets a DM right in the face of Quartz. Quartz goes high. Rajaro there as well.
Touch my property.
Looking for an angle here. So cautious, right? Doesn't want to get caught out there by Shockwave.
Oh, he's gonna live this.
Yeah.
You can't be serious, man. And if he goes against Lambda, that would have been... Oh, he got him too! Lambda dies to the splashback. Rajaro able to go back, get his mech after doing some bunny blaster damage. Everything coming up for Virtus.pro right now in the best way possible. That shield for Bliss is about to give. And Rajaro more than happy to spend his health pool to gain that space. 4 minutes here to finish the map for VP, and they are looking hot.
So here's where this might end up benefiting Twisted Minds a little bit, is I think they've looked much better running the Orisa than they have, you know, playing like the Diva type of comp, right? Where now here towards the end of the map, you can actually go back and play that Orisa. I like the swap now here from Quartz over to the Ashe. I think Ashe really in every situation we've seen has been much better than the Cassidy.
Oh, they know. They're all ready for this. Pulse Bomb gets dropped and everybody from Twisted Minds are able to avoid it. Very close. Bliss is playing on that corner with a rally soon, which would mean a stun on the Tracer where it required. Sauna doesn't want to take those odds. Instead, to the other side, he wants to try and flank around now. Nice little dynamite angle for Shockwave, but he was isolated. And Twisted Minds finally see an opportunity to get their defense on.
Yeah, and this is a rally used by VP, but it's going to be both support ultimates used by Twisted Mind. So VP, still with 3 minutes in the time bank, has an opportunity here with Orbital Array inside of a close choke to make something big happen. And Twisted Minds actually pushes up here, Mitch. This is quite interesting. You rarely see teams play this far forward on defense on Rialto.
I think they know they've got a lot of clock to bleed here. Also, they may be fancy just if they can get that high ground, the stairwell at least with their Orisa up there. It's going to be very annoying. Rajaro can't turn his back on the rest of Twisted Minds to fight CVNT that way. But Orderay's going to get them there. So maybe Twisted Minds hoping to set a battle line further forward, force some ultimates out of Virtus.pro before the end of the map comes up. But there's one more fight here for Twisted Minds to hold VP at bay.
Yeah, I think it's probably more getting Orbital Ray out there than like right here where Rajaro is, right? As they kind of push back into the spawn. I think that is a huge ultimate you can't allow to have here towards the end of the game if you're Twisted Minds.
Shockwave down just as Virtus.pro look poised to strike here. They've lost one of their sharpest tools. Quartz here able to dodge that spear, or at least it didn't come his way in the end. And Bob in reserve for Twisted Minds. This defense should be comfortable.
So we'll get below 2 minutes on the clock here as Quartz opens things up though with an early headshot. As we'll see if a few players actually end up getting staggered here out of this as TVNT pushes up. Can't push up too far though. Doesn't want to give up his own life here, so not going to get another kill out of that. But Twisted Minds, I think you're looking at here, you know, get a fight win maybe with just like a a rally or orbital ray, save one of those for the end. If you lose, you want it to be with 0 time left on the clock.
Shockwave picked up yet again. Virtus.pro's chances of a map completion here now starting to come into serious doubt. Someone wants to come forward but knows there's no point going for a blade here despite Canale committing a rally. And Shockwave using the bob. We're heading under 1 minute before Virtus.pro are going to be able to fight again.
Well, I think Son is actually just trying to get them to use Rally before they end up going with the Blade, right? He's like dashing in, trying to put damage down onto the supports, on the Bliss, trying to force him to end up using that Rally. And he doesn't do so, and TVNT playing so aggressively ends up falling now.
That's a pretty big pickoff, Matt. There is now gone, but it's going to commit the rally now. Finally, they've gotten him to get rid of it, but he's nowhere near the cart. Still no touch yet for VP. They've got to make their way forward, and now they can try and get this over the line. Rajaro can move into spawn and use Terror Surge here, and I agree. Good idea. Quartz very, very low. Won't get away from Sauna's blade now as Virtus.pro know they have to get this done. 30 seconds and counting. Bob to stall out. TVNT very low, and really just a large body that eventually is comfortably shifted by Virtus.pro. Lap to low by the time he can even touch the cart here, and now it's MCD trying to stall. Virtus.pro get the map done as well. We get a 1 minute extension for both sides, and ultimately 13 seconds separate Virtus.pro and Twisted Minds.
Yeah, as TVNT is just pushed up a little bit too far there, and then I think that use of the rally is just silly. I mean, at that point, just die and then end up using the rally there coming out of the spawn. Yeah, I mean, it is double bad there from Bliss. I mean, that is that is one that I'm sure his team would love to have back as well. It's quite brutal there, as even with Twisted Minds, finishing the map there, it's a better time bank there for Virtus.pro.
Not by much, though. These two teams now have really risen to the challenges issued by one another as these maps have come up. A very slow start in the series for Virtus.pro, and we felt legitimately that a 3-0 was most likely. But Virtus.pro and Esperanza come alive, and they dig deep, find what they need to put themselves in Stockholm, a seat at the table to compete with the very best teams in the world at our OWCS finals. I still need to land the plane here. And Twisted Minds have been nipping at their heels. A 13-second time bank difference is nothing comparatively.
No, and I think with how Rialto goes, and a lot of times the game slows down, it's going to come down to these Widow picks, I think, here between Quartz and Shockwave. Which Widow can get their team across the line? A Widow pick here. And, one or two kills from these Widows that open up some of these points could decide their entire team's year.
Again, a pretty predictable angle for Quartz here, but he's hoping that someone makes a mistake and a lapse of judgment would put them in his sights. Maybe someone conked back off the high ground. Quartz instead opts to play close to the card here. The ping location on Shockwave, he knows where the Widow is going to emerge from, but isn't able to find a headshot. So it's another angle now. Canal playing close, Shockwave. Both he and Quartz know how important it is to stay alive. But they also know that their team's hopes rest on one another's shoulders, with a pick here could decide the next couple of months for them. And there it is, it's Quartz to win it out. Shockwave picked up from across the map, and now Twisted Minds with that numbers advantage. They want to exacerbate it. Radaru forced back here, sort of hoping to run into Twisted Minds' backline and dig someone out, but that is a big job for one little Tracer. And Sauna as well will fall. A valiant effort to try and turn the tides, but it's not enough, and now Twisted Minds will threaten the first checkpoint.
Yes, Quartz trying to push up, get a little bit of a position here, see if he can find another kill on the Shockwave as TVNT goes in, going to use a lot of this defense matrix to keep himself up.
Radaru's got a stall.
Oh, look at this
Shockwave. Is it that good, though? He's flanked around, tried to make his play, but Quartz has found Gala instead. Now the infra side available, shield up here. Canal knows that the Grim Reaper lurks close by, and Shockwave has fallen to Lambda. TVNT's a little bit low here. Rajara can make something happen, especially with the rally here from Canale. Lambda's fallen. Canale, big shield. You can't see past that if your Quartz on the infra side is expired. Self-destruct. TVNT low, but can get back into the mech as Canale breaks line of sight to stay alive, but a pulse bomb immediately attached to the mech brings TVNT low yet again. So MCD has to go for an orbital ray. Keeps TVNT for the fight, but not long enough apparently as Rajara now comes forward. Gala gets that ultimate away, and Virtus.pro should be able to stop Twisted Minds in their tracks. A desperate rally falls flat from Bliss, and Lambda cannot touch. Win condition for the series now established for VP.
Yeah, right at our first checkpoint. That's all VP needs to do. Send themselves to Stockholm as... look, I mean, Quartz got off to a great start, right? Some help from Blob to put down a rocket there on the Shockwave, but this choke is really difficult to break on through, man. Especially when the defense matrices are coming through there, blocking a lot of the hit scan damage and whatnot. It's really tough to break, especially then once you lose a support, the other team's got the support ultimates here coming in. It is very difficult to work their way on through. Both teams here, at least at the start, look like they're just going to be kind of coming out on the same exact things we've seen them do. So Lambda and Co not going to move away from this far the entire time. They're going to stick on with it. I was wondering if somebody would actually pull out the Orisa, right? Because of where that payload is. Like Orisa is crazy good in there, right? The survivability with Fortify, imagine Terror Surge, everything inside of the area where you kind of have to get the payload here. I was wondering if somebody would just say, screw the Diva and just not give up maybe some of the high ground here at the start. Looks like, though, it'll be Diva for both sides.
It will be disrespecting Lambda to do that, I think, which is potentially dangerous, right? You don't have a good answer for the Pharah outside of Shockwave shooting them. At this point, it's just too risky. This next minute will feature many opportunities for these players to make the moment count and make some magic. Rajara will shepherd that card forward, and Twisted Minds don't want to take an early fight if they can help it, but Quartz already has opened up the account, and on Gala of all people. Virtus.pro have to reset. There's nothing to do here.
Yeah, and I think VP, you just need to hide and make sure you don't have like Rajaro get demeched or something like that. I mean, that ends everything if that happens. So another pick from Quartz could be enough.
Good response from TVNT. Sees Rajaro getting dangerously close to picking up the Pharah, but Bliss has fallen elsewhere, and Quartz has been accosted by Sauna. A successful assassination for the Tracer, and now he's got eyes for the pie in the sky, and it's Labda. It's a long way off for him. Not really a whole lot he can do to interact with this Pharah, who has so far allowed TVNT to stall this card out. Virtus.pro, no switches, no Orisa swap either. They bring Rajaro back into the fray, but Shockwave's in trouble. Labda, one more direct hit and brings him down. Now there's no winner available for Virtus.pro, and Quartz can breathe easier. Who can take the fight to him but Sauna right now, and that Tracer is nowhere to be seen. So Virtus.pro have to play out of line of sight if they possibly can. Here Sauna very much in a muddled mixture. It's Rajaro that's very low and needs to be healed back up before Virtus.pro can emerge once more. But Labda's playing close. They're really trying to punish the fact that Virtus.pro want to play close, but there's Shockwave. He gets MCD. It's just Bliss for healing, and Twisted Minds have lost him as well. Labda has to save the day. Quartz gets involved to bring Shockwave down, and Gala's able to avoid the pressure. For now, it's Labda falling, and Twisted Minds have to fall back.
You're going to get another fight here, though, with Twisted Minds, right? You're going to get back towards the cart, back towards this bridge. You're not going to have Shockwave in for a little bit. It's going to be in for sight here from Shockwave just to give his team some visibility. Now it's going to be the one from
Both teams have to pop in for sight here. You cannot walk into this fight in the dark. Rajaro backs up here, but it's going to be Shockwave to open up the account. It's Labda falling first. Sauna in response. Both Widows call and answer from Quartz and Shockwave respectively. But Sauna is down. Shockwave needs to come alive now. Can he find the angle? TVNT extends into his sideline a little bit to try and chase down Canale, who gets away scot-free for the time being. Still overtime. Rajaro's got to keep touching. Needs to be kept topped up here by Gala and co. And he is struggling to walk out into the open. It's a self-destruct to make some space and get a new mech back for Rajaro, who's going to be able to climb in, and now Labda might come over the top with the barrage here. It's looking dangerous. They've got a touch. Rajaro looks back at his backline and realizes he can't defend him at all. It's going to be Labda falling in Shockwave, though. And this off angle for the Widow is starting to churn out some results. Canale, though, they need him. Gala, they've lost him. No supports left for Virtus.pro. No healing to speak of. Quartz now looks to try and finish the job as Twisted Minds have done everything they can to book their ticket to Stockholm. And Virtus.pro crumble in the final seconds. It doesn't get any closer than that.
What a series between these two. Twisted Minds dominates early, VP battles back, and then the game 5, just as close as it can possibly be, comes down to the wire. I think really, having that rally there for Twisted Minds, right? Canale has to use it a little bit early because they lose players to get around that first corner. Having that rally there for Twisted Minds, although a really elongated fight there towards the end, definitely ends up paying off. What a crazy fight.
Just overextended, I think, there. Both supports going down in such quick succession was so devastating because Rajaro is the one that has to stall the card. And TVNT knows this, so he knows he can actually dive into the backline, and that Rajaro is really limited in the degree to which he can peel, in which he can try and chase the enemy diva and stop him from picking out one of his players. A pretty incredible ending to what may go down as one of the closest matches of this year, at least in this region, as Twisted Minds advancing in this lower bracket. Virtus.pro, their dreams may have just been crushed.
Well, ours have not. Our wildest dreams have been exceeded rather. This was an insane series. Twisted Minds going ahead 2-0, right? They're on match point. And then VP suddenly waking up, making the right adjustments, making the right swaps, and they're coming back. Then they're winning TM's map pick on King's Row in a very, very close battle. And then we're finishing up on Rialto with both DPSs coming up so clutch. Shockwave and Quartz, they're trading blows. This was phenomenal. You're like some sort of weird voodoo lucky charm for good games.
I guess I should be around more often. I don't even know where to start. So much happened in those two maps. It's even hard to fathom. If we're starting on King's Row, it was this back and forth, hit scan, swapping duel between Shockwave and Quartz. Shockwave's, okay, I'll go Widow. And Quartz is like, no, I'll go Widow. Wait, I'm going Cass. No, I'm going Ashe. It was so back and forth. The ults, pure insanity. And it wasn't even the best map of the series, but this alone, King's Row, I think, was just as good as the last map.
Twisted Minds just having like paper defense. They got picked almost every single fight, and as you mentioned, Quartz swapping over to the Widowmaker on second. But also, like, they got picked. Like TVNT got picked, Bliss got picked, and so 5 minutes on the time bank for Virtus.pro, and then still it came down to the very last fight. We talked about it. The Rays were just such a big difference maker here as well, because Gala, uses the Ray early, and we're losing our minds, just like, oh my god, MCD is not matching. They wanted to do the later Ray, but because of that, like, Virtus.pro, they get so much momentum. Virtus.pro win map 4, and we'll head over to map 5.
Dude, map 5 was like Duel of the Fates level epic between these Widows. I mean, like, just insanity. Like, I was actually holding my breath every time a Widow got a headshot, because it implies so much, like, so many picks there right there at the end went up on the Gala, and then Gala was behind an ult charge, and that makes a difference. And then they have to play it differently, and Sonic has to go more aggressive, and he gets picked, and it's just back and forth.
It was supposed to be over. It was supposed to be over, but Virtus.pro, they pushed the spawn on second point, and TVNT is pushing the cart. They find 2 picks on VP, and Twisted Minds get to the 3rd point and cap it out. And then these 2 last rounds in overtime, I mean, it's so tense.
Like, this is insane.
So tense for the Widowmakers.
It was like truly a game of inches. Like, there were duels where Shockwave was losing because he was so far, and he had just got hit by a rocket. He wasn't full HP, and he died, and Shockwave shot the Pharah, and he was full HP, so the Pharah didn't die, but he died. So it's like literally like millimeters difference in these fights. It's just unbelievable.
Rajaro loses the mech, as you think, oh, Labda is going to use the barrage, but then Rajaro gets back into the mech as well, so Labda isn't able to do it. Labda dies. Just what a giga banger. Absolute giga banger.
Would sign that 100%. Quartz getting themselves a player of the match. Obviously, with those final few picks, he's getting his team ahead of it. But this was, I would have given this just like to everyone in the team, because this was such a good team effort.
So hard to say, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, shout out to like the shot callers on both teams, because I do think there were like a lot of smart decisions being made from both sides as this map got close. The first 2 maps were extremely dominant, okay? Like, the off angles we saw from Quartz, the off angles from Labda as well, they just tore Virtus.pro at the seams and just pulled them apart like pulled pork. But then the last 3 maps, it was a different VP, they adjusted accordingly, but Twisted Minds, they stayed on top of it, the Cassidy swap on King's Row as well. It was really 2 smart teams making adjustments.
Yeah, I want to give VP a lot of credit. I dissed them earlier saying they didn't really adjust, they didn't change their game plan, but on map 3, they finally started pushing, they finally started being aggressive with the Genji, like I highlighted, and they continued it throughout the map, and every time they made swaps, they were able to change the way they played back and forth. I mean, like they said, this is probably the closest match of the year, at least in this region. I mean, well played to both these teams.